Chapter 272. Sikong Sheng, take another attack of mine. Blood flame break. Just when everyone thought that the battle had come to an end, Lin Yun, who was still flying backward, waved his right hand in the air. All of the blood that had spilled out gathered into a pile. Under the burning of the dark red flame, it made a cracking sound before turning into a bloody spear tip, shooting towards Sikong Sheng. The blood-condensed spear tip was extremely fast. It was like a beam of bloody lightning shooting out in front of Sikong Sheng within a second. Sikong Sheng looked a bit surprised as he threw out a punch onto the tip of the spear. Swoosh! The tip of the spear had been shattered. The blood-red flame expanded rapidly in the air, devouring Sikong Sheng completely. What? Lin Yun still has this kind of attack. There were a lot of clasping Yuan Realm warriors who were able to compete with or even kill rank 6 Tyrant Beast. They could tell with one glance that Lin Yun's ace attack could kill any rank 6 Tyrant Beasts within a second. That blood-red flame was not a normal flame either. It was a special flame that had been infused with the power of blood, which was extremely sticky. Sikong Sheng's protective Zhenqi layer had been melted by the blood-red flame. It was like a pile of snow in the winter, or a block of ice in the early spring. Stumbling onto the platform, Lin Yun reached out his hand and wiped off the blood on the corner of his mouth. He chuckled and said, "This attack is a killing attack that I had specially modified for you. It is your honor to be defeated by this attack." Lin Yun, do you really think that you can beat me with this attack? You have overestimated yourself. Wrapped in the flame, Sikong Sheng's right hand, which had been behind his back, finally reached out. That hand was long and powerful, and there was nothing special about it. However, when the 5 fingers of that right hand opened up, the space around it started to shake drastically. It was like what he had opened up was not his fingers, but the whole sky. The burning blood-colored flame started to spin and shrink crazily with that hand as the center. It eventually shrunk into an egg-sized blood-colored fireball, landing on top of Sikong Sheng's palm. It was less than half an inch away from the center of his palm. Sikong Sheng clenched his fist, and the fireball turned into a beam of blue smoke before disappearing. Raising his face, Sikong Sheng's eyes were like gods as he stared at Lin Yun and said, "The winner has been decided. Do you still want to fight?" You're good." A reluctant look flashed through Lin Yun's face. He had prepared for this attack for a long time, but it still could not do anything to Sikong Sheng. Although he still had other ace attacks, they were not as powerful as the Bloodfire Break. It would be a waste to expose his ace attack. "Never mind, if I can't fight for the first place, then I will fight for the second place." The dragon-shaped shadow on Sikong Sheng's body was 24 meters long, but after devouring Lin Yun's dragon fountain chi, it had instantly reached 26 meters, which was getting closer and closer to 90 meters. Sikong Sheng's power is still overwhelming. Even Lin Yun could not pose any threat to him. I wonder who else in this rank would be able to fight against him for real. Yeah. If I can't see the pinnacle battles, it will be quite boring. Yan Qihua should be able to make him take it seriously. As for the undefeated Yi Qin, it's hard to say for now. Only when he becomes the #1 swordsman of the younger generation will he have the basic qualifications. Yi Qin might not be able to win against Li Daoxian, not to mention Sikong Sheng. 50% of his sword intent is still too weak after all. He might not be able to win against Li Daoxian, not to mention Sikong Sheng. Right now, it is still too early to talk about this. The 63rd round is about to end. Perhaps we will be able to see something in the 64th round. The battle between Sikong Sheng and Lin Yun was not that intense. Everyone was still looking forward to the next round of battles. Soon the 63rd round had ended. The 64th round did not start right away, as some of the wounded young warriors needed to recover their energy and injuries, especially the top young warriors. Right then, the power of the martial institutions had been revealed. Bing Ling, Li Daoxian and Lin Yun had only been slightly wounded, but the pellets they had used were worth tens of thousands of mid-rank soul stones. Combined with the healing from the Sea of Souls realm warriors, they had all been healed within 2 hours. As for Mo Yen, he had only been wounded on the skin, so it would not be a big deal even if he did not need to be healed. After 2 hours, the 64th round had begun. In the first 6 battles, it was not the top young warrior's turn yet. In the 7th round, Li Daoxian was the first one to fight. His opponent was Mo Yen, who had lost to Yi Qin in the last round. Facing Li Daoxian, Mo Yen finally did not have to worry about anything anymore. Before, he had lost to Tua Baku and Yi Qin, and most of the reasons were because he had been suppressed. Tua Baku's defense had made his Sky Demon eyes useless, and Yi Qin's ability to see through the weaknesses of his attacks had also made him lose. Although Li Daoxian was extremely powerful, and was not weaker than Tuabaku and Yi Qin. As long as he was not suppressed, he would be able to perform his Sky Demon Eyes as much as he wanted, attacking the weaknesses that he was good at. Mysterious Spirit Seven Finger. His body was like a ghost as Mo Yen walked around Li Daoxian. No one could see his body clearly. He held up his index and middle fingers together, continuously pointing at Mo Yan's weaknesses. Kill. 5 beams of sword light flashed through, and the finger light had been cut open one after another. Li Daoxian extended his body, and his sword intent spread out, locking onto Mo Yan's general location. He threw out a sword attack. The black chi flow was torn apart like a piece of cloth, and Mo Yan's body was exposed. He stepped back with both of his feet, shooting out 5 beams of finger light in a row, shattering that sharp sword chi. Kill. Once he performed his emotionless sword art's ace attack, the air had strangely calmed down. A light sword light that was as calm as water appeared faintly, pointing right at Mo Yan's vital parts. Mo Yan knew how horrifying the sword attack was. The dark red light in his pupils had been condensed to its extreme. He scanned through the air and found 3 unbalanced spots in the air. Without any hesitation he shot out his finger light, landing on those 3 spots. The light veil was taken off, and the sword light was exposed, attacking over heavily. The clothes on Mo Yan's shoulder had been cut open. Tiny drops of blood leaked out of his skin and rolled down. Sky Kill. After successfully shattering or dodging Li Daoxuan's first 2 sword attacks, Mo Yan's confidence had been boosted, and his aura had become even stronger. However, when Li Daoxian threw out the 3rd sword attack, Mo Yan frowned. This sword attack did not have any sword light at all, nor did it have any sword chi. There were only tiny patterns that spread out in all directions. It seemed like there was sword light everywhere, but there were also sword lights everywhere. How should I defend against it? Mo Yan had a question in his mind. Thoughts flashed through his mind at lightning speed. You lost. Right then, Li Daoxuan's voice came from right next to his ears. At the same time he could feel a bone-piercing sharpness. Mo Yan turned his head and saw a great sword that was shining with a cold light was less than an inch away from him. The invisible sharp light on the tip of the sword had cut off a few hairs on his body. What is going on? Could it be a fake attack? I can't tell either. Besides some slight vibrations in the air, there was no attack at all. I think it was just to confuse Mo Yan. Even Mo Yan's Sky Demon Eyes could not see through it. Whether it was a fake attack or not, it was horrifying enough. Everyone could not tell what was going on, so they started to discuss. Yan Qihua, who had fought against Li Daoxian before, twitched his mouth but did not say anything. Li Daoxian had used this attack on him before. Hearing everyone's discussion, Yi Qin slightly shook his head. It was definitely not a fake attack. It was a real killing attack, and it was a killing attack that had 2 layers of attack stacked on top of each other. One was fake while the other was real. One was in the light while the other was in the dark. When you were attracted by the attack in the light, the killing attack in the dark would come right after. When you ignored the attack in the light, then the seemingly fake attack would become a horrifying killing attack. This was a sword attack that was close to perfection. It had to be broken in all aspects or else it would be unbreakable. Thinking about that, Yi Qin could not help but glance at Yan Qihua. Before, when the two were battling, Li Daoxuan's sword speed was extremely fast, and it was hard for him to see through it. After all, everyone had their own limit and so did Yi Qin. If he could break all kinds of attacks, then it would be too crazy since he was not that powerful yet. Yan Qihua was facing Li Daoxuan's Sky Kill sword attack and had broken it with one blade attack. His power was way more horrifying than anyone had imagined, which was completely different from his previous aggressive style. Being rough but also careful, that was what a powerful blade artist should have. Yan Qihua was the #1 blade artist among the young generation in the whole South Zhuo region. He was definitely worthy of that title. Wei Renjie, who was known as the blade master of the young generation, was still 1 or 2 levels lower than him. After devouring Mo Yan's dragon fountain chi, Li Daoxian had been beaten by Yan Qihua. His dragon shadow, which had shrunk to 23 meters, had grown again to 26 meters. Mo Yan, who had walked off the stage, looked a bit tired. Including Li Daoxian, he had already lost 3 times. The first 2 were against Tuabaku and Yi Qin. Even if he only lost 2 more battles, he would not be able to get into the top 5 of the hidden dragon rank. He would not be able to beat Xikong Sheng for sure, and neither would Yan Qihua. Murong Qingqing and Lin Yun were also extremely dangerous. He did not even have a 50% chance of winning. After 3 battles, the second pair of top young warriors got on the stage. Haha, I did not have enough fun in the Black Dragon Empire. This time I will try my best. Tuabaku laughed out loud the second he got on the stage. His opponent was none other than Yi Chen. Yi Chen smiled, I would like to see your full power as well. Come on then. Ruin 18 Fist Art. In Tuabaku's eyes, Yi Chen was the most powerful warrior among the young generation besides Sikong Sheng. He did not dare to hide his power at all. His 11th level of defensive martial art had been fully used. His Jun Qi shot up into the sky as he threw out a punch towards Yi Chen crazily. It was obviously more powerful than when he was fighting against Mo Yen. Pouring 50% of his sword intent into the sky-shattering cloud's poetic perspective, Yi Chen's body turned into a blur as he flashed to the weakest part of the fist aura. He then held his sword with both of his hands and threw out a sword attack with the power of thunder and lightning. It was his most powerful sword attack with 50% of his sword intent, which was also more powerful than before. His protective Jin Qi layer had been bitten into pieces by Tuabaku's brutal dragon movement. Yi Chen tightened his left hand into a fist and punched out the dragon-shaped fist power a little bit. It had only brushed past his body. As for his sword attack, it had completely landed on Tuabaku's body, shattering his protective Jin Qi layer. His clothes had been torn apart, and a long white mark appeared on Tuabaku's chest. He laughed and said, powerful enough. Too bad it still could not break through my defense. Ruin Dragon Attack. This time, all of Tuabaku's fist power had turned into dragon shapes. Countless dragon-shaped chi streams rushed towards Yi Chen like a group of dragons dancing in the air. Yi Chen, who was floating in the air, shook his body. A powerful invisible sharp light spread out, shaking the air and bringing up waves of pattern. 60% sword intent exploded. Chapter 273. What? 60% sword intent? Didn't he only learn 50% sword intent? How come it has become 60% sword intent now? Perhaps this is his ace card? Hiding the sword intent level seems to be very hard to do. How did he do it? Perhaps it would be hard to see sword intent in other places, but in the competitions of the Hidden Dragon rank, there were already more than 20 young warriors who had learned the sword intent, which was more than any of the previous years. Among them, Li Daoxian was the most outstanding one, and he was currently at 60% sword intent. Tang Xiaoshan was at entry level, and Yi Chen was at 50% sword intent, which made him ranked second. However, now that he had revealed his 60% sword intent, Yi Chen's understanding of the sword intent was not any weaker than Li Daoxian. Plus, Yi Chen's sword art was so powerful, which made him even more powerful. More importantly, could the sword intent level be hidden that easily? It was understandable that Yi Chen did not reveal his sword intent before, since most of the sword artists could do it. But to hide the sword intent from 50% to 50% was 10 times more difficult, because the sword intent was very mysterious and hard to distinguish. The so-called 40 to 50% was just a rough estimate. Normally, there were only 3 levels of the sword intent, which were divided into entry level, and completion. Dividing it into levels was completely out of necessity, since the sword intent was so hard to learn, and every little bit of improvement would be extremely valuable. After a long time, the sword artists who had learned the sword intent had thought of dividing the sword intent into levels. If hiding the 50% sword intent was 10 times more difficult, then hiding the 60% sword intent would be even more difficult. The more powerful the sword intent was, the harder it would be to hide. People who could easily hide the sword intent were definitely those sword artists who were very good at using the sword intent. They would be able to beat another sword artist with the same sword intent. Thinking up to here, everyone was shocked. Could it be that Yi Chen's mastery of the sword intent was even better than Li Daoxuan's? It is not possible. Li Daoxian had reached the 60% sword intent half a year ago. With his talent in the sword art, he would not lose to anyone in the way of using the sword intent. Everyone found it hard to believe. As soon as the 60% sword intent burst out, Yi Chen felt that his sword aura had increased crazily. For a sword artist, the sword intent wasn't just a one-sided amplification. It could increase the sword artist's attacking power, make up for the flaws in his sword art, and push his sword art to another level. Therefore, the sword intent wasn't just a matter of attacking power, it could also increase the sword artist's overall power to another level. Meanwhile, the improvement of the sword intent level would have a greater and greater effect on the comprehensive power. If the entry level of sword intent was a barrier, then every level after that would be a barrier. Therefore, Yi Chen with 50% sword intent and Yi Chen with 60% sword intent were not on the same level at all. They were on 2 completely different levels. Pu piu piu piu, the illusory sword light flashed, and the heads of the dragon-shaped energy streams were chopped off one after another, bursting into pieces. Amazing, he actually concealed a level of sword intent. Yi Chen's sword intent was too powerful. Tua Baku had just launched his attack when he realized that something was wrong. The sword intent that spread out from Yi Chen's body had made his hair stand on end. His fist aura had been blocked, as if it had been cut by countless invisible sharp blades. Savage tyrant body? Tua Baku yelled. That aggressive Jinqi had been hidden to the extreme, sticking to the surface of his skin like a thin layer of light film. It was dark blue in color. Pushing his defense to its limit, Tua Baku's eyes were wide open, shining brightly. He threw out an even more powerful punch towards Yi Chen. The dragon-shaped chi showed its fangs and claws. Break! Yi Chen waved out a sword attack, and the whole space seemed to have been cracked open. The dragon-shaped chi had been sliced apart and could not do anything. Then the sword chi was like lightning, landing on Tua Baku's body within a second. Chin. Burning sparks shot into the sky like fireworks. Tua Baku's feet were blown into the air by that sword attack that contained 60% sword intent. His whole body landed on the surface of the dark blue light wall. Right then, the sword chi had still not disappeared completely, continuing to press on. No, my savage tyrant body will not be able to hold on for much longer. Tua Baku was shocked. The dark blue light layer on his chest had started to crack, which could not be repaired at all. It was the first time that he had felt what it meant to be unstoppable. All of the muscles in his body started to twist. A wild light suddenly flashed through Tua Baku's eyes. His right arm that had expanded to twice its original size bent and pulled back, punching onto the sword chi. Crack. The sword chi had been shattered, and Tua Baku's right fist was covered in blood. Dragon World. The blood had been shattered by his fist power. Tua Baku's left hand hit on the light wall, and with the huge pushing force he shot out a horrifying dragon-shaped chi. The dragon-shaped chi roared into the sky, its massive head seeming to be able to devour a small house. The air around it was like a flood of water under the huge pressure, bringing up huge waves, allowing the dragon-shaped chi to travel around freely. The sharp intent had all gathered and merged into the Star Scar sword. Yi Chen stepped on the air, his body flashing. The next second, a long and sharp sword light flashed through the belly of that dragon-shaped chi, cutting it in half. Tua Baku, who was behind it, had been blown away with his hands crossed in front of his chest. He did not follow up with another attack. Yi Chen was still in the air, putting his long sword back into its scabbard. He lightly landed on the platform, his blue robe dancing in the wind. Bang! Tua Baku had also landed, but he had been cut into the ground. The platform under his feet was full of cracks, looking like spider webs. Even my most powerful ace attack could not do anything to you. I have lost. Wiping away the blood on the corner of his mouth, Tua Baku chuckled, but he did not look like he was going to die. Yi Chen said, with only 60% sword intent, it would be hard for me to kill you. Tua Baku's defense was unimaginable. Normal top-rank Earth Realm defense martial arts would not have this kind of effect. This was at least one of the top-rank Earth Realm defense martial arts. Besides that, Tua Baku's body was extremely compatible with this martial art. His 11th realm defense would not be any weaker than other people's 12th realm. Compared to my defense, my attacking power is indeed a bit weak. Tua Baku knew his weakness, which was why he had decided to give up. Otherwise it would not be as simple as a light wound. Oh. The dragon-shaped shadow jumped out, devouring Tua Baku's dragon fountain chi. Soon Yi Chen's dragon-shaped shadow had reached beyond 80 meters, reaching 81 meters. It was right behind Xikong Sheng and Yan Qihua ranking third. This battle is not going to be easy. The leader of the Heartless Martial School frowned. Yi Chen's 60% sword intent had appeared out of nowhere, which had made him lose confidence in Li Daoxian. Although there seemed to be a 10% difference between 50% sword intent and 60% sword intent, the gap was extremely obvious. Right now, Yi Chen's understanding of the sword intent was the same as Li Daoxuan's. So, what they were going to compete on was their cultivation of sword arts. A core master of the Heartless Martial School said, "Leader, don't worry. Daoxuan's Heartless Sword Arts and the Heartless Sword Intent complement each other, which is way more powerful than a simple 60% sword intent." The leader of the Heartless Martial School nodded. Without this advantage, Daoxuan's chance of winning would not be more than 30%. Right now, he only has 50% chance of winning. 60% sword intent. It is indeed unexpected. I thought he would stop at the 5th or 6th place. It seems like he could still go up 1 or 2 places. Yan Qihua's eyebrows flicked, an interested look appearing in his eyes. Lin Yun, who was not far away, sneered. Right now he thought only Yan Qihua could compete with him for the 2nd place. However, Yi Qin, who had revealed his 60% sword intent, had already made him feel the pressure. After battling with Sikong Sheng, he had revealed his biggest ace attack, and the others had more or less hidden ace attacks, so he had to be careful. Damn it. When these two were battling with me, they did not even use their full power. Mo Yin had suffered a huge blow, his fists tightened. Right then the audience had already started to discuss. It is indeed Yi Qin who has the upper hand after all. Even Tua Baku had lost to him. Among the top 10 new stars, Yi Qin definitely deserves to be the number 1. Although Tua Baku is powerful, he had still lost to Yi Qin and could only be ranked number 2. Right now Yi Qin had beaten 3 top young warriors, Bing Ling, Mo Yin and Tua Baku. Without any surprises, Gu Yuyun would not be able to compete with him as well. Besides these 4, his next opponents would be Sikong Sheng, Yan Qihua, Li Daoxian, Lin Yun and Murong Qingqing. I wonder if he could continue to win all the battles. Yi Chen's dark horse status had shocked a lot of people. Since the beginning of the elimination competitions, he had not lost a single battle. No one knew how much power he had hidden or how many ace attacks he had. All they knew was that each time he encountered a powerful opponent, he would reveal a bit of his real power, which was undoubtedly horrifying. The next battle would be Yan Qihua against Gu Yuyun. Gu Yuyun, who had the Stone King Body Protective Fist art, was very powerful. Unfortunately, she was facing the number 1 blade artist, Yan Qihua. Yan Qihua's blade aura was extremely aggressive. With only 2 blade attacks, he had broken through his opponent's protective Zhen Qi layer. That overwhelming advantage had made a lot of people frown. Among the young generation, perhaps only Sikong Sheng had the power to beat him. Whether or not Lin Yun could compete with him was still unknown. The 27th battle, Sikong Sheng against Bing Ling. The battle continued quickly, and Sikong Sheng got on the stage again. Bing Ling bit on her teeth. It was not her style to give up without a battle. Without any hesitation, she pushed all of her Zhen Qi and gathered it on her right arm, performing one of the ace attacks of the Ice Break Fist art, Ice Crystal Fist. Sikong Sheng stood where he was without moving, waiting for Bing Ling's attack. Boom. The Ice Crystal Fist had been prepared. Bing Ling's speed had been pushed to its limit as she threw out a punch. Forming a fist with his left hand, Sikong Sheng threw out a punch as well. The sky was filled with ice shards. Under Sikong Sheng's Sky Tyrant Fist art, the Ice Crystal Fist had been shattered. The closer the dragon-shaped shadow got to 90 meters, the slower it grew. After devouring Bing Ling's Dragon Fountain Qi, it had only made Sikong Sheng's dragon-shaped shadow grow to 24 meters, only 3 feet away from 90 meters. The 28th battle, Lin Yun against Murong Qingqing. Although there had been 9 battles between the top young warriors, there were only 3 that could be considered as the most important ones. One was Yan Qihua against Li Daoxian, one was Sikong Sheng against Lin Yun, and the last one would be the battle right in front of them, Murong Qingqing against Lin Yun. Murong Qingqing was just like Yi Qin, she had not been defeated yet. The Sky Demon Great Art that she had trained had made most of the people feel helpless. Her defense was the shapeless Sky Demon Power Field, which was her territory. Her attacking methods were the Sky Demon Power Field and the Sky Demon Palm Print. With the combination of the two, even someone as powerful as Bing Ling would not be able to get close to her, and could only be attacked. And Lin Yun's power was not to be underestimated either. When he was battling with Sikong Sheng, he had revealed his ace attack, which could kill any rank 6 tyrant beasts within a second. His power was definitely horrifying, and he had the power to compete for the top 3. In everyone's mind, his power was even more powerful than Murong Qingqing. The battle between the two had attracted a lot of attention. Chapter 274. Yi Qin had calculated countless times in his mind, and eventually had to shake his head. Between Murong Qingqing and Lin Yun, both of them would have a chance to win. However, it was hard to predict who would win. It was not because the two were equally powerful, but the biggest problem was Murong Qingqing's Sky Demon Great Art. As everyone knew, the Sky Flying Devil Martial School's Sky Devil Great Art was a very powerful and strange martial art. It didn't have any protective Zhen Qi, and its defensive method was the Sky Devil Power Field. The Sky Devil Power Field was invisible and intangible, and it needed to be driven by the Sky Devil Zhen Qi. Once the Sky Devil Power Field protected the body, it would be very difficult to break through it, which made it difficult for normal attacks to work, and the opponent often couldn't get close to it. If it were another opponent, Murong Qingqing would have a very high chance of winning. However, her opponent Lin Yun was just as powerful as her. His powerful attacking power could kill any rank 6 tyrant beast within a second, which had been proven during the battle with Xikong Sheng. Therefore, even with Yi Chen's extremely sharp eyes, he could not tell who would have a higher chance of winning. He would only know after a battle. On the battling platform, Murong Qingqing, who was wearing purple robes, arrived in the air. Standing in front of her was Lin Yun, who was holding a black iron spear with burning qi. Lin Yun grinned and said, "Qingqing, it has been 3 years since we last fought. Your power has indeed surprised me. In my opinion, you definitely have the power to be ranked 5th or even 4th. However, if you want to be in the top 3, you are still 1 level away." Lin Yun's meaning was very clear. Although he had lost to Xikong Sheng, but besides Xikong Sheng, only Yan Qihua could threaten him. And Murong Qingqing's power was probably below the top 3. Within the top 5, she would not be able to win against him. He just did not want to say it out loud. Murong Qingqing said lightly, "Oh yeah? Why do I feel like I can win against you?" "Hehe, asking you to give up is indeed too much. How about this? Within 10 attacks, if you can get the upper hand, I will give up automatically." Lin Yun forced a laugh. He did not know if Murong Qingqing did not understand him or if she was just irritated. 10 moves, fine. Murong Qingqing did not speak anymore. Instead, she secretly activated her Heavenly Devil innate qi, forming a circle of Heavenly Devil force field in an area of 30 feet around her. Heavenly Fire Force Spears. Without using his ace attacks, Lin Yun had only used normal ace attacks to fight against Murong Qingqing. No matter whether he wanted to admit it or not, he did not think that Murong Qingqing would be able to win against him. Dark red flames erupted, and the air boiled like water. Immediately after, a spiral of flames spread out and rushed towards Murong Qingqing, who was dozens of meters away. Pop. The space around Murong Qingqing shook for a moment, and the airflow surged. Heavenly Devil Palm, annihilate. Stretching out her 5 fingers, Murong Qingqing sent out a palm print. Buzz. The flame pattern had been broken down, and Lin Yun's spear aura had been blocked. His speed had been reduced instantly. He did not panic at all as he stepped on the ground and cut into the incoming palm attack in a tricky and aggressive way. He continued to perform his Heavenly Fire Force Spear's ace attack, which was even more aggressive than before. However, his iron spear had lost control after the 3rd attack. Murong Qingqing, who was not far away, made a grabbing gesture with her right hand, drawing his spear aura to the side and throwing a palm attack back at him. Lin Yun did not dare to underestimate Murong Qingqing's palm power. His body shook once and a flame shield appeared in front of him. The shield was thick and full of patterns. Sparks kept splashing out and it looked like it was made of gold and stone. It was extremely heavy. Boom. The palm power that contained the Heavenly Devil power field had been blocked out by the flame shield, and Lin Yun was not injured at all. Heavenly Devil Palm Attack, Sky Blame. Murong Qingqing did not stop attacking as she threw out 4 palm attacks. The last one was the ace attack of the Heavenly Devil Palm Attack, Sky Blame. This attack was based on the reverse Heavenly Devil power field, creating a powerful repelling power that would blow away the locked objects in the space. Break! Lin Yun yelled as the flame around his body shot up into the sky. He waved his iron spear horizontally, battling against that powerful repelling power that was everywhere. He did not back out even 1 step. Lin Yun is indeed powerful. He could even fight against Murong Qingqing's power field. Murong Qingqing's martial art realm is 1 level lower, so it would be hard for her to perform the full power of the Sky Demon Great Art. Otherwise, Lin Yun would not be able to win this easily. The two were both testing each other. However, in everyone's eyes, Murong Qingqing had obviously fallen into a disadvantage. Even her Sky Demon Palm attack, which had always been successful, could not do anything to Lin Yun. Double Sky Blame. Murong Qingqing put her left hand on the back of her right hand. The repelling power had been doubled, and it had landed on Lin Yun's body within a second. Finally, it had blown him dozens of meters away, leaving a dark red trail in the air. Lin Yun was still in the air. He did not wait to land on the ground before he shot back like a flying dragon. He threw out a spear attack towards Murong Qingqing. It was indeed one of his ace attacks, the Sky Fall attack. Once the spear attack had been thrown out, the sky and the ground had been shaken. Even the air around Murong Qingqing had been dyed dark red, as if the sky had been burnt red. The Sky Demon power field could not block out the burning heat. Murong Qingqing's body disappeared and reappeared in the sky within a second. She performed the Sky Demon catch with her left hand while attacking with the Sky Demon palm attack with her right hand. One positive and one negative, the other negative, had combined together. It had somehow dissolved Lin Yun's deadly attack. Sky Demon Strangle. It was not over yet. She twisted her left hand as the Sky Demon power field twisted, shattering the protective Jin Qi layer outside of Lin Yun's body completely. 6 attacks had passed. Although Murong Qingqing had not gotten the upper hand, Lin Yun had not gotten the upper hand either. He could not help but look bad. He could not care less about the idea of holding back. He stomped on the ground, bringing up a fire wave. His body shot up into the sky, stabbing towards Murong Qingqing with his spear attack. It was still the Skyfall attack. This time the Skyfall attack was extremely aggressive. The air had been pierced through by the spear attack, creating a black vacuum tunnel that extended all the way to Murong Qingqing's Sky Demon power field. The Sky Demon power field was disrupted for a while, which had backfired on the Jin Qi inside Murong Qingqing's body. She put her tongue on top of her chin, trying to control her boiling qi and blood. She threw out a palm attack to block that incoming spear light. Boom. Thunder exploded. Murong Qingqing backed out a couple of steps. Lin Yun did not take the opportunity to attack. His opponent's extremely powerful palm attack had also made him lose control of his body. His body froze on the spot. Do you still want to keep fighting? Lin Yun held the spear with his right hand. The body of the spear was covered in a dark red flame, slowly accumulating at the tip. Landing on the ground, Murong Qingqing put on the low-rank great weapon, the gold silk gloves. She said lightly, "Right now it has only been 7 attacks. It seems like you have not gotten the upper hand yet. Since that is the case, then I will defeat you within 3 attacks." As he spoke, the Jin Qi that Lin Yun had poured into the iron spear suddenly increased. A walnut-sized fireball accumulated at the tip of the spear. The fireball kept spinning, its color getting darker and darker. Dark Flame Kill. When Lin Yun got serious, he was undoubtedly extremely horrifying. Once he had activated his 11th level martial art, flames shot out of his body, attacking towards Murong Qingqing like a human-shaped meteor. That iron spear that had accumulated the fireball had already been stabbed out one step ahead of him, its aura extremely aggressive. Murong Qingqing performed her Sky Demon catch and Sky Demon Great Palm print again. With the amplification of the gold silk gloves, her power field had been increased by more than 10%, blocking out Lin Yun's spear aura. The power field had been broken, and Lin Yun's spear aura had been slightly weakened. However, as Lin Yun poured in more Jin Qi, a 12-meter-long spear light shot out, hitting onto Murong Qingqing's Sky Demon power field. The 9th attack. Lose. Lin Yun yelled, his iron spear cutting through the air like a hot knife through butter. Murong Qingqing's expression did not change. Suddenly she did something shocking. Her left hand's 5 fingers were bent, trying to grab onto Lin Yun's iron spear. Her right hand was hidden behind her back. Invisible sharp blades kept shooting out from her fingertips, hitting onto the surface of the platform and making a swishing sound. Boom. The fireball on the iron spear exploded. The fire wave that reached into the sky covered both of them, creating a 30-meter-tall fire pillar. Lin Yun sneered. He knew the power of the fireball, which was a killing attack that was condensed with 20% of his Jin Qi. Once it exploded, even people who were more powerful than him would be badly wounded, not to mention Murong Qingqing, who was slightly weaker than him. If there were no accidents, she would have been wounded already. However, what happened next had shocked him. Inside the fire pillar, Murong Qingqing's left hand was not damaged at all. In between her palm, there was a cluster of light black light moving. He was very familiar with that light. It was obviously the extremely condensed Sky Demon power field. The scattered Sky Demon power field was already very powerful, and it was unimaginable how powerful it would be when it was condensed. It was because of the condensed Sky Demon power field that Murong Qingqing was able to take on Lin Yun's ace attack without any damage. Otherwise, even with the protection of the gold silk gloves, her arm would have been broken by the explosive power. Right then, Lin Yun could not care about anything else. He knew that Murong Qingqing would definitely have a follow-up ace attack. If he did not make the first move, he would most likely lose. The center of his left palm was cracked open, and a stream of blood shot out, being wrapped up by the dark red flame. Lin Yun backed out quickly, throwing out his ace attack that he had used on Sikong Sheng. The blood turned into a bloody spear tip, shooting out at an unimaginable speed. Break! Murong Qingqing waved her left hand, and the condensed Sky Demon power field landed on the tip of the bloody spear. She did not wait for the bloody flame to burn, and her whole body shot out into the air. The right hand that was hidden behind her back reached out horizontally. She opened her 5 fingers and a new sky demon power field was born, condensing into an invisible blade shape, attacking towards Lin Yun who was backing out. Power field cut. The fire shield had been broken, and Lin Yun could only watch his protective Jin Qi layer being cut open. The sky demon power field that contained both positive and negative power had landed on his body. Puking out a mouthful of blood, Lin Yun flipped a couple of times in the air before landing heavily on the light wall. Right then the blood fire break had just exploded behind Murong Qingqing. The bloody flame burned the air, expanding rapidly in the wind. At the last moment, Murong Qingqing had turned the tables. Over at the audience seating, everyone could not believe their eyes. Lin Yun had lost to Murong Qingqing, who had just risen up in this year's Hidden Dragon rank. And he had lost under the condition that he had performed his ace attack. There was no mercy at all, which had really shocked them. Power field cut. I did not expect Qingqing's martial arts to have reached this level. The leader of the Sky Demon Martial School was in a great mood. The head disciple Mo Yen had already lost the chance to compete for the top 5, and the only hope was on Murong Qingqing. She had not disappointed him at all. Chapter 275. Arrogant piece of trash. Yen Qihua sneered. Even he did not dare to underestimate Murong Qingqing's power, so he had to treat it seriously. Otherwise it would be possible for him to fail miserably. And the reason why Lin Yun had lost to Murong Qingqing was because he had underestimated Murong Qingqing's power. He did not take the battle seriously, and at the critical moment, it would be too hard to turn the tables. One wrong move and everything would be wrong. If Lin Yun did not limit himself with 10 attacks and put all of his focus into the battle, the result would still be unknown. Therefore he had lost to himself. The leader of the Skyfall Martial School looked extremely pale. Lin Yun's failure was completely out of his expectation. He had already thought about it before the battle. With Lin Yun's power, even if he could not get the first place, he would definitely be able to get the second or third place. Among all of them, only Xikong Sheng and Yen Qihua would be his opponents. Leader, there is still a chance for the third place. There is no need to get so angry. The headmaster of the Skyfall Martial School let out a breath and tried to persuade him. I know. This battle will be a lesson for him. Do not underestimate the others. The ranking system of the Hidden Dragon rank was based on the point system, and it was quite common for people to have the same points. Therefore Lin Yun still had the chance to get the third place and maybe the second place as well. However, the chance was very low since Yen Qihua's power was right there. Besides Xikong Sheng, no one would be able to beat him. Crawling up from the stage, Lin Yun puked out another mouthful of blood. It was not caused by his wounds but by his anger. He had never thought that he would be defeated by Murong Qingqing one day. Thinking about what he had said to her before the battle, he could not think straight. He felt both humiliated and embarrassed. After devouring Lin Yun's dragon fountain qi, the dragon-shaped shadow on Murong Qingqing's body had expanded to 23 meters, which was only below Xikong Sheng, Yen Qihua, and Yi Chen ranking 4th. Without saying anything to hurt his opponent, Murong Qingqing walked down the stage directly. The 64th round had ended, and the 2-hour break began. Inside the training room, the leader of the Skyfall Martial School said while healing Lin Yun, "You were too careless this battle. In the following battles besides Yen Qihua, I want you to win all of them." Leader, don't worry. If I have the chance to run into Murong Qingqing again, I will not be careless anymore. Lin Yun tightened his fists, blue veins popping out on his forehead. 2 hours later, the 65th round began. The first battle, Xikong Sheng against Gu Yuyun. Xikong Sheng and Gu Yuyun were not only disciples of the Floating Mountain Martial School, but they also had the king-level bloodline. One was the descendant of the Tsang King while the other was the descendant of the Stone King. Unfortunately, the power gap between the two was way too huge. Otherwise, it would have been a crazy battle of king-level bloodline. Sister disciple, you go first. Xikong Sheng reached out his left hand. Gu Yuyun nodded. She naturally knew about her head disciple's power, and it was definitely not something that she could handle. However, in the last 9 rounds of the Hidden Dragon rank competitions, no one had ever given up on their own. She did not want to break that rule. Plus, there were not many chances for her to exchange attacks with her head disciple. He would not be able to beat her with only one attack. He would at least show some respect to his fellow disciples. In front of Xikong Sheng, it would be a joke to talk about defense. Gu Yuyun rarely took the initiative to attack, and each of her attacks was extremely powerful. Xikong Sheng kept his right hand behind his back, using only one hand to receive the attacks. He did not plan to beat his sister disciple right away, so he only used a small amount of power. After 30 attacks, Guiyun stopped her attack and stood still. Head disciple, thank you for teaching me. You have made great progress. I think you will be able to get into the top 3 in the next Hidden Dragon rank competitions. This year's Hidden Dragon rank competitions would be the most popular one. After this one, besides him, Yi Qin and Tua Baku, the others would all be over 24 years old. Plus, once he reached the astral reaching realm, the Hidden Dragon rank would only be an empty title, and he would not need to participate anymore. The Dragon Fountain Chi would not be able to increase anymore, so he might as well give it to the disciples of the Floating Mountain Martial School and let them fight for the endless luck for the school. The 7th battle, Bing Ling against Lin Yun. Losing to Murong Qingqing, Lin Yun looked even darker. Combined with the burning hot chi on his body, his whole body looked like a beast hiding in the fire. Kill. Once the battle started, Lin Yun threw out his most powerful attacks towards Bing Ling. Skyfire 4 spears, Skyfall attack, and other ace attacks were performed continuously. The sky-covering flame almost lit up the entire battling platform. The flame shot up into the sky, spreading out in all directions. If it were someone else, they would have already lost under Lin Yun's crazy attacks. The good thing was that Bing Ling had trained the ice element Jin Qi, which could suppress the fire element Jin Qi under the same conditions. Although Lin Yun's martial arts were one level higher than hers, it would still be impossible for him to beat her easily. Looking from below the stage, the vast battling platform was covered in flames. In the center there was a pile of ice and snow, which was protecting Bing Ling's body. Ice Crystal Fist. After taking a couple of heavy attacks from Lin Yun, Bing Ling used her most powerful ace attack. Her right forearm and fist were wrapped in ice crystals, attacking towards Lin Yun at 2 times the speed of sound. Dark Flame Kill. Lin Yun did not back out at all. A walnut-sized fireball had been accumulated on his iron spear, attacking towards Bing Ling's ace attack in a brutal manner. Boom. A burning mushroom cloud of flame rose up between the two, with ice shards splashing everywhere. The next second, blood leaked out from the corner of Bing Ling's mouth. She had lost to Lin Yun's ace attack. The 14th battle, Mo Yen against Murong Qingqing. After Sikong Shing and Gu Yoyun's match, another pair of disciples from the same martial school had appeared. Mo Yen had lost to Tua Baku Yi Qin, and Li Daoxian one after another, which had made his popularity drop again and again. He was now out of the top 8. At the same time he was feeling the same pressure as Lin Yun, very bad. His handsome face looked a lot more hideous now. However, Murong Qingqing and Mo Yen were completely different. She was one of the top 2 beauties of the Black Dragon Empire, one of the top 2 warriors of the young generation in the South Rudra region. Even though she had lost the battle, her popularity was still the same. Plus, she had won 2 battles so far and she had even beaten Lin Yun in the second battle. It had made her popularity even higher than Yi Qin. Different experiences had created different mentality. Facing Murong Qingqing again, Mo Yen had a very complicated expression on his face. Even he himself could not tell what was on his mind. Murong Qingqing said, "Head disciple, do your best. Alright, I will not go easy on you." Her calling him head disciple was very irritating to him, and her tone was not that good either. Murong Qingqing shook her head in her mind and did not say anything else. Activating his sky demon eyes, a dark red light shot out of Mo Yan's pupils. It was like a diamond, extremely condensed. He groaned with a low voice as both of his hands threw out a couple of attacks, performing his normal ace attack, the sky hand attack. This attack had a huge coverage, which was the best one to confuse people. Palm shadows filled the air. Mo Yan's body flashed once before appearing on the right side of Murong Qingqing. He pointed his finger at the weak spot of the sky demon power field. Murong Qingqing and Mo Yan knew each other very well, so she would naturally not be confused by the sky hand attack. She waved her right hand in the air, and the sky demon power field spread out along her palm, deviating Mo Yan's finger light. Mysterious Spirit 7 Finger. His body jumped up from the ground as Mo Yen performed his ace attack again. Sky Demon Palm Attack, Destruction, Sky Rebuke. Murong Qingqing did not dare to waste any time. She performed the 2 ace attacks of the Sky Demon Palm Attack with both of her hands, one to break the attack and the other to attack. Moving like a ghost, Mo Yen avoided Murong Qingqing's Sky Demon Palm Attack. Within a second he threw out a dark purple finger light. That finger light was like lightning, shooting through Murong Qingqing's Sky Demon power field, aiming for the vital spot on her waist, which was impossible to defend against. Sky Demon Protective Strangulation. In that critical moment, Murong Qingqing used her body as the axis and spun in the air for 2 rounds. The Sky Demon power field outside her body twisted instantly, making that finger light fly past her body without hurting her at all. As she spun, Murong Qingqing did not stop attacking. She used the Sky Demon catch with her left hand and the Sky Demon palm attack with her right hand. Both attacks were thrown out together, forcing Mo Yen to temporarily dodge and lose the chance to gain the upper hand. Demon Spirit Killing Finger. His feet lightly touched the surface of the platform as Mo Yen performed his ace attack. This finger attack had broken through Tua Baku's defense, and its attacking power was no weaker than Li Daoxuan's. Unfortunately, the previous 3 opponents had made him suffer a lot. Tua Baku's defense was too high, and Yi Chen was able to see through all of his attacks. Li Daoxuan's sword attacks were unpredictable, and it would already be great if he could defend against them, not to mention attacking. Right then he had used it on Murong Qingqing instead. Murong Qingqing of course would not dare to underestimate Mo Yen. In fact, she suspected that this year's Hidden Dragon rank competition might be Mo Yan's nemesis, since all of the opponents he had run into were not good for him. Otherwise there might be a chance for him to make it into the top 5. But on the other hand, adapting to the environment and laughing until the end was the basic quality of a powerful warrior. Mo Yan's failure had proven that he did not have that quality yet. Facing that finger attack, Murong Qingqing had to perform her Sky Demon Power Field technique to break through that finger light. She then waved her right hand and a simple power field cut was shot out, cutting open Mo Yan's protective Jin Qi layer and leaving a wound on his shoulder. This attack was Murong Qingqing holding back. However, Mo Yen did not care at all and continued to attack. The Demon Spirit Killing Finger attacked towards Murong Qingqing's vital spot. Murong Qingqing frowned. Her body disappeared as she threw back 2 power field cuts. At the same time she performed her Sky Demon catch and caught Mo Yen, who was still trying to escape. They knew each other very well, so how could Murong Qingqing not know where he was going to escape to? Mo Yen did not look too good, but he did not attack again. The 21st battle, Yi Chen against Li Daoxian. It seemed like the head judge cared a lot about this battle. He stood up for the second time and announced the names of the 2 in person, his voice dragging out. Boom. The audience was shocked. They had waited so long for the battle between the top sword artists of the young generation. Without exaggerating, the battle between the 2 would basically decide who would be the #1 sword artist in the whole South Rudra region. Would it be Li Daoxian or Yi Chen? Li Daoxian was the head disciple of the Heartless Martial School with 60% sword intent. He had lost to the #1 blade artist Yan Qihua by half an attack. His power was obvious and no one dared to underestimate him. Yi Chen was the new top young warrior, the leader of the top 10 new stars. He also had 60% sword intent. Added with his extremely powerful sword art and horrifying ability to see through weaknesses, he was highly respected. He was so popular that he was ranked in the top 4 of the top young warriors. The battle between the 2 top sword artists would be very exciting without even thinking about it. After all, sword artists were different from warriors. Their attacks were famous for their fast and accurate attacks. Even a little bit of carelessness could cause one to lose. There would not be a situation where the battle would last for a long time. Chapter 276. On the vast battling platform, 2 human figures were standing hundreds of meters away from each other. On the left side of the battling platform, Li Daoxian was wearing a blue robe, with a long and narrow great sword hanging from his waist. The sword's scabbard was simple and ancient, with a few patterns on it. On the right side, Yi Chen was standing straight, wearing a blue robe as well. He also had a great sword hanging from his waist. The scabbard was carved with star patterns, its color clear and deep. Since you have the 60% sword intent, then I do not have to worry about the unfair advantage. The level of the sword intent had nothing to do with the unfair advantage. If it were a normal sword artist, Li Daoxian would never tell him that if he did not have the sword intent, then he would not use the sword intent either. It would be very stupid. However, Yi Chen was different. Yi Chen's sword art realm was extremely high, and almost no one could compete with him in the young generation. Li Daoxian did not want to win the competition with his sword intent that was 10% higher than his opponents, because he wanted to compete with Yi Chen's sword art realm. Right now, Yi Chen had also mastered the 60% sword intent. Therefore, the 2 were basically on the same level and the competition would be the sword art realm. Yi Chen said, "That would be for the best. I also want to know how powerful my sword art realm is." Up until now, Yi Chen had not revealed all of his achievements in his sword art yet. It was either because his opponents were too weak and could not use it, or his opponents were different like Tuabaku. Therefore, if he did not find an equally powerful opponent, even Yi Qin himself would not be able to figure out his own sword art realm. Putting his right hand on the sword hilt, Li Daoxian stopped talking. His sharp eyes locked onto Yi Qin. Compared to the aggressive Yan Qihua, Yi Qin had given him more pressure. It was not that Yan Qihua was not as powerful as Yi Qin. In fact, even he could not see through Yan Qihua's power. However, Yan Qihua was a blade artist, which was different from a sword artist after all. However, Yi Qin was a sword artist who had mastered the 60% sword intent. This year's Hidden Dragon rank competitions only needed one number 1 sword artist. Kill. Flashing his body, Li Daoxian had shortened the distance between him and Yi Qin to only 10 meters. His sword had been taken out of its scabbard. A cold beam of light with a shocking sword intent was thrown out. The air was like water without any ripples. There was only one person and one sword left in the world. Yan Qihua, who was watching the battle, squeezed his eyes. This Yi Qin is indeed powerful. Facing him, Li Daoxuan's sword art realm had improved even further. His spirit, qi and soul were condensed, showing signs of merging into one. Yi Qin's expression did not change. His right hand grabbed onto the hilt of his Star Scar sword, which looked slow but was actually fast. He gently pulled it out. The dark-colored sword light was like a poisonous snake coming out of its cave, accurately pointing at the tip of Li Daoxuan's sword. The emotionless poetic perspective seemed to have no effect on him at all. Qin. The sword tips, which were filled with Jin Qi, clashed together. Sparks flew everywhere, looking extremely bright. Why do I feel a bit numb? On the audience seating, a clasping Yuan realm warrior had goosebumps all over his body as he said with a shaky voice. Me too. I heard that the battles between powerful sword artists would make the audience shiver. Today I can see that it is indeed the case. There is a huge difference between sword artists and blade artists. Blade artists need to be bold and powerful, and their blade aura would make people's blood boil. However, sword artists are the exact opposite. They try their best to beat their opponents with the smallest cost. They are good at killing with one attack, which is the sublimation of their techniques. Therefore, they will leave a terrifying impression on people. It was an astral-reaching realm sword artist who was talking. While the audience was chatting, the battle on the battling platform had already reached its climax. Ding, ding, ding. The sword lights spread out, clashing with each other sharply. Kill. Dozens of sword attacks had been blocked by Yi Qin in a row. Li Daoxian took 3 steps back. During the process, he shook his wrist, and a sword light that could cut through metal appeared on his long sword. The sword light seemed to be invisible, as if it could ignore the distance between them. It pointed right at Yi Qin, who was not far away. Pop. The sword light was shattered. It was shattered by an invisible sword light. After shattering the sword light, Yi Qin extended his body, his blue robe dancing in the air. He threw out a sword attack. The shocking sword speed made the sword light not have enough time to flash. Together with it, there was also that sword art poetic perspective that could confuse people's senses. 60% sword intent, lone peak kill. I cannot block it out. Li Daoxian was shocked. He closed his eyes and pushed his flying art to its limit, shooting out violently. No one knew why he had backed out so fast, because they could not feel the poetic perspective of the lone peak kill. A stream of blood splashed out along the tip of the sword. Yi Qin stopped his steps. Indeed, the lone peak kill with 60% sword intent is still a bit too powerful. It would not work on other sword artists at the same level. Yi Qin looked at Li Daoxian, who was 10 meters away. Li Daoxian had escaped from the poetic perspective and stopped immediately. However, there was a light sword mark on his face. This is the sword art that you had performed before. Li Daoxuan's confusion had been solved. During the knockout competitions and the ranking competitions, Yi Qin would occasionally perform the poetic perspective of the lone peak kill. He had been wondering what kind of poetic perspective it was, but now he finally understood. Yi Qin did not answer but asked instead, "The battle between you and Yan Qihua was very interesting. Why don't you use all of your ace attacks on him?" The lone peak kill had been exposed and dodged by his opponent, but Yi Qin was not worried at all. The power of the movement did not lie in the movement itself, but in the person using it. The same movement would have different effects in different hands. That sword attack before was just a test, to test Li Daoxuan's bottom line. Next time, the lone peak kill would be used at the most appropriate time. Sky kill. Needless to say, Li Daoxian naturally knew what to do. He performed the sword movement that had beaten Mo Yen with only one sword attack. The sword light was hidden inside, spreading out everywhere. His whole body stepped on sharp steps, as if he had turned into a sharp sword, shooting towards Yi Chen. Break! Yi Chen's spirit, chi and soul were extremely condensed. The star-scar sword in his hand was waved at an unimaginable speed. Within a second he had thrown out at least hundreds of sword attacks. The invisible sword light had formed a layer of invisible sword net in front of him. His extraordinary style had made the eyes of some of the female disciples brighten up. Pop, pop. Just like Yi Chen had expected, Li Daoxuan's sky kill sword movement indeed contained two layers of power, one in the light and one in the dark. The sword attack in the light might look like a fake attack, but it could not be avoided. The sword attack in the dark would definitely kill with one attack, which was where Li Daoxuan's real body was. The two complemented each other, which was enough to kill warriors at the same level. Right now, the sword attack in the light had been broken, so Li Daoxuan's dark attack was coming right at Yi Chen's throat. Ding! A metal clashing sound was heard. Li Daoxuan's sword had been blocked out. It was also a sword that had blocked him. The sword light kept spinning, piercing through the air and chasing back. It stuck close to Li Daoxuan's sword body, attacking towards his palm. Li Daoxian frowned. Yi Chen's toughness had made him feel like he did not have enough power for the first time. When Yi Chen was breaking his attack, he did not release his lone peak kill poetic perspective. When his sword attack was broken halfway, the poetic perspective suddenly appeared, which slowed down his reaction speed by half a second. His sword speed had been slowed down, and that half a second was enough for Yi Chen to use his sword to block and fight back. Moving sword steps. His feet were like swords and his body was like a ghost. Li Daoxuan's body moved away, avoiding Yi Chen's counterattack. Small sky-shattering clouds. Holding the sword with only one hand, Yi Chen's sword art style changed. Every movement contained thunder and lightning, and the wind and clouds started to gather. It contained an endless explosive power. It was like what he had thrown out was not a sword attack, but beams of lightning and clouds, not giving Li Daoxian any chance to breathe. Oh, oh, oh. The sword chi left cracks on the ground. Li Daoxian did not expect Yi Chen's style to change so quickly. It had completely messed up his own rhythm and he kept performing his moving sword steps. Earth explosion, sky shock. Finding out Li Daoxuan's pattern of dodging, Yi Chen suddenly stomped on the ground. He performed the secret martial art that he had gotten from the Bloody Butcher a long time ago, the Earth Explosion Sky Shock. Although the rank of the Earth Explosion Sky Shock was not that high, and it would not be able to cause any real damage to his opponent, but its supportive effect could not be underestimated. As his Jin Chi poured into the ground, the place where Li Daoxian had landed cracked open like a spider web. Not good. Without a choice, Li Daoxian took a deep breath in the air, forcefully stopping his falling body. Then his Jin Chi exploded, barely avoiding the attack range of the Earth Explosion Sky Shock. There was no way that Yi Chen would let go of this opportunity. He performed his separating shadow flying art. His body flickered and he quickly appeared in front of Li Daoxian, throwing out a sword attack. Li Daoxian used his sword to block out the attack in an extremely uncomfortable position. He opened his left hand's 5 fingers, and a suction force appeared out of nowhere, trying to grab Yi Chen's body. Separate. All he managed to grab was Yi Chen's Jin Chi shadow. Under the twisting suction force, it was shattered into pieces. Boom. After losing the opportunity to attack, Li Daoxian could no longer block out Yi Chen's sword attack. Under a dark sword light, his whole body was blown away, and his Jin Chi layer had been shattered. With blood leaking out from the corner of his mouth, Li Daoxian looked extremely serious. While he was still in the air, he forcefully pushed his Jin Chi and performed the sword step. He changed his original flying route and avoided Yi Chen's next sword attack. Dozens of meters away, Li Daoxian tapped the ground with the tip of his foot and shot out with his long sword in his hand. This is my killing sword attack. If you can block it, you win. After throwing out the sword attack, the air became even calmer. The sword light attacked towards Yi Chen at a speed that was faster than the human eye could see. If it was only this, it would not be enough to be called Li Daoxuan's killing attack. This sword attack seemed to have blocked out all the noises from under the stage. Indeed, this sword attack was called silence. It was one of the killing attacks of the heartless sword art. During the battle with Yan Qihua, Li Daoxian had used this killing attack to cut off a strand of Yan Qihua's hair. If it were not for the fact that he could not fully perform his silence attack, Yan Qihua might not be able to win against him. Because the two of them had been fighting at such a fast speed, there were very few people who had actually noticed that sword attack. There were less than 5 or even less people among the young generation. All the noise disappeared and there was no trace left in the air. It was like the sword light was no longer a sword light but a part of the air. What a good silence attack. It is even more perfect than when he was fighting against me. Yan Qihua was still a bit scared. Excluding the silence attack, Li Daoxian was still a bit weaker than him, so it would not be that hard for him to win. However, once the silence attack was used, even he could not react in time. He could only block and counterattack subconsciously. To win in the end, besides the achievement of his blade art realm, there was also a bit of luck. Otherwise, it would not be a strand of hair that was cut off, but an ear or even his head. The leader of the Heartless Martial School had made up his mind. The combination of the Heartless Sword Intent and the Heartless Sword Art would be much more powerful than the Sword Intent and Sword Art. Combined with this silence attack, the situation was starting to look better. So this attack is called Silence? What a vivid name. Yi Qin stood where he was without moving. He stretched his body. As for Li Daoxian being able to cut off a strand of Yan Qihua's hair, how could he not notice it? The reason why he had purposely suppressed his sword art realm was because he wanted to see the power of this attack and improve his own sword art realm. Chapter 277. Almost within a second, the sword light that Li Daoxian had thrown out had arrived in front of Yi Qin. The sword light did not have the slightest vibration. It was shaped like a crescent moon, and the tip of the crescent moon carried a thunderous power. It was impossible to describe how fast and sharp that sword attack was. Just as the sword light was about to reach Yi Qin made his move. He held the Star Scar sword tightly with both of his hands, waving it at a speed that was even faster than the sword light. Most of the people could not even see how he waved the sword, or what angle he had chosen. Seal. This sword attack was not about breaking but about blocking. Li Daoxian's sword light was way too fast and violent. Two powerful sword attacks would not be able to block it in advance. Only the simplest fast sword poetic perspective would be able to do it. However, the power of the fast sword poetic perspective was way weaker than the lone peak kill and the sky-shattering clouds poetic perspective. It only focused on speed, and aimed to perform the fastest sword art with the fastest reaction speed. Countless sparks splashed everywhere. Because of the inertia, all of these sparks were shooting towards Yi Qin's direction, wrapping him up in the air. It was like a flower of fire was blooming towards him. It was unimaginably beautiful. Li Daoxian's sword light had not disappeared yet. It started to bounce violently, as if it was trying to break through Yi Qin's blocking and give him a fatal attack. Ding. The Star Scar sword pulled back a little bit, but then attacked back at an even faster speed, hitting the same spot where the sword light had been. The sword light was broken with a sound that sounded like metal breaking. The next second, two beams of light, one on the left and one on the right, had cut out a deep mark on the platform behind Yi Qin, stretching for dozens of meters. Silent. It turns out that the power of the sword light was compressed to an extreme extent, cutting off its connection with the air and the outside world at the same time. Sound was transmitted through the air, so naturally, it couldn't be transmitted in, creating a man-made silent world. Yi Qin's blocking was not for nothing. Through the vibration that came from the sword light and the Star Scar sword when they clashed, as well as the feeling of his soul power, Yi Qin had discovered the secret of the silent attack in a very short period of time. However, knowing was one thing. Wanting to use this move out of thin air was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. For example, everyone knew that by compressing Jin Qi to a certain degree, one could kill an astral-reaching realm warrior or even a Sea of Souls realm warrior. But no one had such a powerful control over it, since it would be even harder than becoming a life-and-death realm warrior. There were many simple mysteries in the world, but most of them were useless because ordinary methods could not be used at all. Therefore, techniques came into being. Skill could be described as a shortcut. It could make it easier for a martial artist to grasp some difficult things and do things that they could not do in the past. The silent killing move contained an extreme technique. Through this technique, the sword light could be compressed to the extreme, causing the speed and power to increase sharply and killing silently. He blocked the sword? After performing his silent ace attack, Li Daoxian felt like all of his energy had been sucked out of him. Seeing that Yi Qin had blocked out that sword light without a scratch, he could not help but be shocked. However, before this shock could spread out, he saw that sword light had been cut in half. It had been cut in half. Slowly letting out a breath, Yi Qin smiled and said, "This sword attack is very powerful. Unfortunately, it is not perfect yet. Otherwise, I would not be able to break it." The sword light that was condensed like steel was extremely tough. Even Yi Qin could not cut it in half at once. He could only do it twice, since he did not have Mo Yan Sky Demon Eyes, which allowed him to see the weaknesses with his eyes. In fact, if it were Mo Yin, he would not be able to do anything either, since his reaction speed would not even be half of Yi Chen's. Regardless, the silent killing move was indeed a killing move. If it could be perfected in the future, if Yi Chen wanted to block it out, he would have to learn the fast sword poetic perspective to the extreme. I have lost. You are indeed powerful. You can compete with Yan Qihua. Li Daoxian knew that Yan Qihua was still holding back some of his power. Being able to cut off a strand of his hair might have been due to luck. Yi Chen being able to take on the silent killing move without being hurt meant that he could compete with Yan Qihua. Oh! A dragon roar was heard. The dragon-shaped shadow outside Yi Chen's body had devoured Li Daoxuan's dragon fountain qi, and had grown again. It was now 23 meters tall, looking very majestic. Right then the audience had already started to discuss. Beating Li Daoxian, Yi Chen would be the #1 sword artist among the young generation in the whole South Rudra region. What a surprise. Indeed. Right now, even Li Daoxian had lost to Yi Chen. Who would be the next one? Would he beat his opponent, or would he stop his winning streak? In everyone's eyes, Yi Chen had turned from a dark horse into a super dark horse. He had managed to get into the top 10 from the elimination competitions, and it was not over yet. Right now he had already beaten 4 top young warriors. Gu Yuyun, who had not fought with him before, would definitely not be his opponent. Then there were still Xikong Sheng, Yan Qihua, Lin Yun and Murong Qingqing. No matter who he beat, it would make his reputation even brighter. Even if he lost, he would at least be ranked 5th in the Hidden Dragon rank, which was not something that normal people could fight for. The leader of the Heartless Martial School side. Even Li Daoxian had lost to Yi Chen in this kind of condition. What else could he say? The #1 young sword artist in the whole South Rudra region would have nothing to do with the Heartless Martial School anymore. But it was good for him. Without competition there would be no motivation. After this battle, Daoxian might be able to reach the next level. He is indeed a powerful opponent. Yan Qihua had never looked so serious before. Yi Chen was way too sharp. If he did not use all of his power he would most likely lose. The good thing was that this battle had allowed him to see a lot of things, and he had a better understanding of Yi Chen's bottom line. Li Daoxian, you have helped me a lot. Yan Qihua thought to himself. The 33rd battle, Yan Qihua against Tua Baku. Compared to the battle for the #1 young sword artist, the battle between Yan Qihua and Tua Baku had also attracted everyone's attention. Although Tua Baku had lost to Yi Chen, everyone knew that with his powerful defense, it would be hard for Yi Chen to beat him completely in a real battle. Great. Another powerful one. That rich Jin Qi was quickly hidden inside his body, sticking to the surface of Tua Baku's skin. It looked like a layer of dark blue light membrane. An excited look flashed through his eyes as he threw out his Ruin 18 fist art. Chin. Yan Qihua took out his long blade, which was covered in a red flame. That fire element Jin Qi had condensed into a flame that was different from Lin Yun's. It seemed to be purer and more powerful. As Yan Qihua threw out a blade attack, the area in front of him had been sliced open. Boom. Tua Baku's fist aura had not been pushed to its limit before it was broken by that blade attack. That aggressive flame drowned Tua Baku within. Dragon World. The flame was broken open and Tua Baku shot out from within. He threw out a killing attack in the air, and that massive dragon-shaped qi swallowed Yan Qihua, who was not far away. Chapter 278. Crack. The burning hot blade light flashed once, and the dragon-shaped qi was cut in half. Yan Qihua flew out from the crack and threw out 8 blade attacks towards Tua Baku. The 8 blade lights were extremely powerful, without any pattern. They were like 8 wild horses that had escaped from their reins, making it hard for people to predict where they would land. Boom, 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 boom. Tua Baku had dodged 5 of the blade light, but he could not avoid the other 3 no matter how hard he tried. He had to take it head on. He roared and his body flew backward while throwing out an uppercut punch towards Yan Qihua. Of course it was not a normal uppercut punch. Under Yan Qihua's feet, a dragon-shaped qi appeared out of nowhere and blew him into the sky. That sharp claws and teeth had almost torn apart his protective Jin Qi layer. All of the people watching the battle could not help but be shocked. That attack did not seem to be that powerful, but it was extremely hard to defend against. They did not expect that Tua Baku would still have another attack, but they did not know why he did not use it on Yi Chen. Tua Baku, who had landed on the ground, made a face. Of course he wanted to use it on Yi Chen. But he had never fought with Yi Chen before, so he did not know how powerful he was. It would not be easy to lock onto his body. Up until now, no one had managed to touch Yi Chen's body. In his opinion, the scariest thing about Yi Chen was not anything else, but that insanely powerful control. Trying to play tricks with him, he would definitely kill you. Fire Dragon Cut. Standing in the sky, Yan Qihua threw out a blade attack. That fiery red blade chi exploded in the air, turning into a sharp fire dragon, attacking towards Tua Baku. Tua Baku lifted up his palm that had turned dark blue and pressed onto the head of the fire dragon. That powerful palm power had slapped the fire dragon until it cracked open. Break. As the palm power was pushed out, the fire dragon had been shattered. Flame Cut. Seizing this slight opportunity, Yan Qihua appeared in front of Tua Baku within a second. He waved his long blade upwards, not only blowing away Tua Baku, but also shooting out a bright red flame that landed on Tua Baku's body, bringing up a rain of fire. Tua Baku did not dare to waste any more time as he endured the flame and threw an uppercut punch at Yan Qihua. Learning from experience, Yan Qihua had long been prepared for this move. He held his saber in a reverse grip and struck the ground with blazing flames. Rumble. The dragon-shaped chi and the saber aura collided and finally dispersed. Let's see how you block this blade. The long blade stabbed into the platform, but Yan Qihua did not pull it out right away. Instead, he pushed his wrist and opened up a blade mark on the ground. That sky-reaching blade light had blown Tua Baku hundreds of meters away. He landed heavily on the dark blue light wall, bringing up a series of ripples. However, before that, Tua Baku had also returned an attack. That powerful fist power had landed on the surface of his protective Zhen Qi layer, which had boiled up Yan Qihua's qi and blood. The winner had been decided. Tua Baku had lost this battle, but he himself was only slightly wounded. His insane defense had once again amazed everyone. The 65th round of battles had ended. After resting for an hour, the 66th round began. In this round of battles, the top 4 young warriors were Bing Ling, Gu Yuyun, Yan Qihua, and Mo Yan. Bing Ling against Gu Yuyun, and Yan Qihua against Mo Yan. Gu Yuyun's power was still a bit weak. Even though she had the Stone King's top martial art, the Stone King body protective fist art, it was still hard for her to block out Bing Ling's ice break fist art. After exchanging more than 30 attacks, she was beaten by Bing Ling with only one punch. As for the battle between Yan Qihua and Mo Yan, there was no suspense at all. It ended with Yan Qihua's complete victory. However, the 18th battle was very eye-catching. The contestants were the super popular Murong Qingqing and Li Daoxian, who had lost to Yi Chen. Right then, the battle had already entered the most crucial moment. The winner would be decided within a second. Silent Sword. Facing Murong Qingqing's Sky Demon Power Field and Sky Demon Great Palm Print, Li Daoxian was having a hard time. No matter how powerful his sword art was or how powerful his sword intent was, it was still hard for him to break through Murong Qingqing's defense. If it was not being messed up by the Sky Demon Great Palm Print, then he would be hit by that horrifying power field cut. Without exaggeration, Murong Qingqing was definitely the most troublesome warrior to deal with among the young generation. Because no matter if it was Xikong Sheng, Yan Qihua, or even Yi Chen, they were all battling with real martial arts. Battling styles like the Sky Demon Great Art were really rare. After battling for a long time, Li Daoxian found a flaw in Murong Qingqing's defense and performed his silent ace attack. Murong Qingqing's reaction speed was not that crazy after all. Before he could perform his power field cut, he had already been hit by the sword light. The protective Sky Demon power field was twisted, and Murong Qingqing's face went pale. His body backed out for a couple of steps. What was worth noting was that the sword light had not used all of its power yet. In that critical moment, Murong Qingqing had used the twisting power of the protective Sky Demon power field to divert the sword light, making it go past his shoulder. Otherwise, under that sword attack he would not just be looking pale, he would at least be badly wounded. No need to fight anymore. I have lost. Although he was not wounded this time, it did not mean that he would be able to next time. So Murong Qingqing gave up right away. Li Daoxian let out a breath and forced a smile. I really do not want to battle with you. The top 2 martial arts of the Sky Demon Martial School had always been famous for their toughness. For example, Mo Yan's Sky Demon art, after training the Sky Demon eyes, he would be able to see the weaknesses of his opponents. However, in Mo Yan's hands, it did not seem to be able to bring out its full power. And then there was the Sky Demon Great Art. This martial art's unique Sky Demon power field was even more difficult to deal with than the Sky Demon eyes. Within a radius of 10 meters, the whole area would be covered by the power field. Plus, The user could use the power of the Sky Demon power field through his palm to reach a very far distance. It was a nightmare for normal warriors. The 24th battle, Yi Chen against Lin Yun. The fourth pair of top young warriors was indeed Yi Chen and Lin Yun. Lin Yun had lost to Murong Qingqing more or less because of his carelessness. If he had not used 10 attacks to limit himself, he would not have been able to use all of his ace attacks in a hurry, which had allowed Murong Qingqing to turn the tables in such a short time without any chance to fight back. Of course, whether or not Lin Yun had more power than Murong Qingqing, Yi Chen did not care too much. Under the same conditions, Lin Yun would not be a threat to him at all. It was not only because of the difference in cultivation, but also because Yi Chen was not afraid of people like Lin Yun. Let's do it. With the Star Scar sword in his hand, Yi Chen and Lin Yun stood 100 meters apart. Lin Yun looked very gloomy. Losing to Murong Qingqing had made him more cautious. However, Yi Chen had given him a lot of pressure. Before the last 9 battles, he had never considered Yi Chen as a real opponent. He thought that Yi Chen was just SOSO. Beating Li Daoxian is not that big of a deal. Just lose. The Sky Fall attack required the Sky Fire 4 spear to store up its power. Lin Yun held the iron spear in his hand and threw it out. The red flame rushed towards Yi Chen, turning into layers of fire waves in the air. Ignoring the aggressive fire waves, Yi Chen extended his body and rushed towards the fire waves. Midway he took out his Star Scar sword. A dark sword light flashed once before disappearing, separating the fire waves. Chapter 279. Clang. Sparks shot up into the sky. Lin Yun's Sky Fall attack, which he had been waiting for, had been broken apart by Yi Chen with one sword attack. It was just when he had used up all of his previous power. With one sword attack, Yi Chen jumped into the air. The Star Scar sword in his hand was extremely powerful and full of explosive power. That intense sword light was like thunder and lightning, like an ocean of clouds. Every movement gave people the feeling that it was unstoppable. Damn. Dark flame kill. Lin Yun was shocked and angry at the same time. He had not expected that Yi Chen would change his battling style and become so aggressive. In the previous battles, he was obviously the type of person who would counter attacks as they came, and rarely took the initiative to attack. Seeing that his battling rhythm had been completely broken, Lin Yun did not even have the chance to perform his ace attacks. Without a choice, he replaced his iron spear with his left hand, accumulating an egg-sized dark red fireball and attacking towards Yi Chen. In fact, Yi Chen right now was the real Yi Chen. He was full of attacking power, showing off his power and cutting through all kinds of obstacles. Any opponent that was in his way would be cut down by his sword without any hesitation. But before that, he had wanted to learn something from the others to enrich himself. That was why he had hidden his power and countered attacks as they came. Right now, these experiences were more or less enough. As for the few people who had not fought against each other before, they did not need to compete with each other. After all, up until now, everyone had exposed all of their ace attacks. They had seen everything that they needed to see, and there was not much that they needed to think about. The fireball exploded violently, bringing up the chi everywhere. Shadow explosion. Countless overlapping shadows exploded. Yi Chen's real body flashed once, avoiding the exploding range of the fireball. He appeared on the right side of Lin Yun. He slightly shook his wrist, and that thunder-like sword light poured out. Each sword attack seemed to have been measured perfectly, and each attack was deadly. Lin Yun's protective Jinqi layer had been weakened to only a thin layer, which made him shocked. He was different from Tua Baku, who had put most of his Jinqi on his skin, so his protective Jinqi layer was not that powerful. However, Lin Yun was the exact opposite. His protective Jinqi layer had definitely reached the 11th level of his martial art, which was very powerful. However, under Yi Chen's continuous sword light, it was showing signs of breaking down. How could he not be shocked? Fire Essence Shield. More burning Jinqi poured out, forming into a shield shadow made of flames in front of Lin Yun. The shield shadow was thick and heavy, covered in patterns. Because of the intense Jinqi pressing against each other, clear sparks kept shooting out of the surface of the shield. Bang! The sword light was finally repelled by the fire elemental shield, unable to advance any further. Quick sword. His footwork was unpredictable. Yi Chen took a step forward and got close to him. The Star Scar sword in his hand moved at a speed that could not be seen by the naked eye. Damn! The shield shadow had been blown away, and the sword light was extremely sharp, pointing right at Lin Yun's chest. You are too much. Lin Yun was furious. Since the beginning of the Hidden Dragon rank competitions, There had never been anyone who could not even give him a chance to attack. The anger in his heart grew as he performed the Skyfall Great Art of the Skyfall Martial School. A total of 5 shield shadows were formed outside of his body, blocking all of the blind spots. Yi Chen's eyebrows flicked as he changed his sword movement from the quick sword to the lone peak kill. The poetic perspective of his 60% sword intent spread out, covering the area where Lin Yun was standing. I do not believe that you can break through my fire yuan shield. Under the influence of the poetic perspective of the lone peak kill, Lin Yun's reaction speed had obviously slowed down a bit. Right then he did not have the time to dodge. His right palm cracked open, blood splashing out. He was ready to take on Yi Chen's attack head-on, and at the same time, give him a fatal attack. What was out of Lin Yun's expectation was that Yi Chen had backed out without any warning. It made Lin Yun feel depressed as if he had just punched into the air. Even the blood fire break that he had been cultivating in his hand had almost been shattered. But right then Yi Chen, who had backed out for dozens of meters, threw out another attack. Sky-shattering clouds. Holding the sword with both of his hands, Yi Chen's clothes danced in the air as he threw out a sword attack. Lin Yun's face looked extremely hideous. The blood on his right hand had condensed into a bloody spear tip. As he waved his right hand, the spear was shot out. Burning flames shot up into the sky. Thunder and lightning were mixed together and the wind was roaring. The two completely different ace attacks had been combined together. Any clasping Yuan Realm warriors who touched it would be killed instantly. Break. The ace attacks had cancelled out each other. Yi Chen's body had exploded again. Dozens of shadows flew towards Lin Yun. All of a sudden, Lin Yun could not even tell which one was Yi Chen's real body and which one was the Zhen Qi shadow. Without a sound, a sword stabbed into the gap between the fire yuan shield and landed on Lin Yun's shoulder, bringing up a stream of blood. What a powerful attack. First he had used up Lin Yun's ace attack, then he had killed him with one attack, leaving him no chance to fight back. Li Daoxin took a deep breath as he thought to himself. The leader of the Skyfall Martial School had a bad look on his face. The armrest of his chair had been cracked by his grip. This brat is indeed cunning. Right next to him, the headmaster of the Skyfall Martial School did not know what to say. He could only say this after a long while. The leader of the Skyfall Martial School sneered, but did not say anything. After devouring Lin Yun's dragon fountain chi, the dragon-shaped shadow on Yi Chen's body had expanded to an unprecedented height. It reached 25 meters, catching up with Yan Qihua and Xikong Shen. You. Lin Yun looked down at the tiny sword hole on his shoulder. He still could not believe that he had lost, and he had nowhere to vent his anger. On the judge's seat, all of the judges looked at each other and announced Yi Chen as the winner of the battle. Next was the battle between Xikong Sheng and Tua Baku. Tua Baku's power was among the top of the young generation, but his opponent was Xikong Sheng, the king warrior of the young generation of the South Rudra region. If his attacking power did not reach Yan Qihua's level, he would not even have the right to challenge him. So he had lost the battle without any surprise. The 67th round, the first battle, Murong Qingqing against Yi Chen. Once the 67th battle began, the audience started to get excited. Murong Qingqing and Yi Chen were both very popular among the young generation. Judging only based on popularity, they could be ranked in the top 3. Adding their equally powerful power, it was no doubt that the audience was looking forward to it. On the battling platform, Murong Qingqing was wearing a purple robe with a light veil over her face. Her body was slim, and her pitch-black pupils were like 2 bright stars, making people unable to move their eyes away. On the other side, Yi Chen was wearing a blue robe with a long sword hanging on his waist. He looked calm and elegant, as if he was standing alone in the world. At this moment, everyone was stunned by what they saw. Murong Qingqing revealed a light smile. I have not seen you for more than a year. I did not expect you to have improved this much. Winning all the battles, I am afraid that even I would not be able to beat you. It would be a lie to say that she was not surprised. Back in the Three River City of the Spirit Nation, Yi Chen was only an early clasping Yuan Realm warrior, and his sword intent had only reached entry level, which was the same as Wei Renjia. But after not seeing each other for more than a year, his sword intent had not only reached 60%, but his sword art and personal cultivation had also increased drastically, reaching an unimaginable level. It had even made Xixing, who had always been quiet, curious. It is just a matter of personal experience, Yi Chen said. Murong Qingqing nodded. Then let's begin. Looking serious, Murong Qingqing immediately pushed her Sky Demon power field. Her left hand performed the Sky Demon catch, while her right hand attacked with the Sky Demon palm. Facing Murong Qingqing's attack, Yi Chen's body flashed, avoiding the Sky Demon catch. At the same time, his Star Scar sword was taken out of its scabbard. The sharp sword chi clashed with Murong Qingqing's Sky Demon palm. The sword chi had been shattered, but Murong Qingqing frowned. In her sight, Yi Chen had performed the separating body art that he had used to beat Lin Yun. His clones were everywhere, stacking on top of each other, making it hard to tell which one was the real one. Sky Demon Strangle. Both of her hands attacked in the air. Murong Qingqing activated her Sky Demon power field and twisted it slightly. Pop, pop, pop. At least 10 Jin Chi shadows had been shattered by the Sky Demon power field, clearing out a huge area. But what welcomed her next was a sword light that was as powerful as thunder in the sky. It landed heavily on the protective Sky Demon power field, bringing up waves of ripples and boiling her chi and blood. Power field cut. Murong Qingqing moved her hand as she threw out a power field cut towards where the sword light was coming from. It contained both the positive and negative Sky Demon power field, which was extremely horrifying. It had torn apart the surface of the platform, leaving a deep mark that spread out in a straight line. Swoosh. Another Jinchi shadow had been cut into pieces. Lone Peak Kill. Yi Chen's real body appeared 10 meters away from Murong Qingqing, right next to the Sky Demon power field. He did not care about the effect of the Sky Demon power field as he flipped his wrist and stabbed in with his Star Scar sword with a determined posture. His poetic perspective covered his opponent perfectly. Oh! The sword chi and the Sky Demon power field clashed against each other. The ripples that were created spread out, affecting on both Yi Chen and Murong Qingqing. Murong Qingqing's face turned pale. That second, her reaction speed had been affected, and she did not manage to launch the counterattack at the right time. Instead, she had been attacked by her own Sky Demon power field, which had only wounded her slightly. Meanwhile, Yi Chen had already backed out a bit, so he had only taken some of the remaining ripples of the power field. With only 60% sword intent, it was naturally impossible to break through Murong Qingqing's Sky Demon power field. Yi Chen used his separating shadow flying art to stay 10 meters away from Murong Qingqing. He kept performing his Lone Peak Kill and sky-shattering clouds, trying to break the stability of the Sky Demon power field and not give his opponent a chance to breathe. After dozens of attacks, Murong Qingqing's face was getting paler and paler. People had always said that the Sky Demon great art was hard to deal with, but no one knew how hard it was for Yi Chen. He had gotten the upper hand and she did not even have the chance to fight back. Right now she could feel what Lin Yun was feeling. After another 10 attacks, Murong Qingqing said, "There is no need to fight anymore. I have lost." Hearing her, Yi Chen put his Star Scar sword back into its scabbard and backed out 10 steps. "Thank you." Yi Chen's victory was expected, but it was also unexpected. No one had expected that Yi Chen, who was full of attacking power, would be this powerful. The Sky Demon power field that even Lin Yun and Li Daoxian could not handle had been broken down by him. Head disciple, this guy is too hard to deal with. Right next to Xikong Sheng, a core disciple from the Floating Mountain Martial School frowned and said. The expression on Xikong Sheng's face was very calm, without any change. He said lightly, "His battling experience is not bad. Unfortunately, in front of absolute power, all of this would be meaningless." In his eyes, Yan Qihua could only make him a little bit more serious, and would not pose any threat to him. As for Yi Chen, he was just like Yan Qihua, maybe even weaker. Chapter 280. After Yi Chen had beaten Murong Qingqing in the battles between the top young warriors, Mo Yin had used his Sky Demon eyes to break through Gu Yoyun's Stone King body protective fist art. He had won the first victory in the last 9 battles, which had saved a lot of face. Right after that, Bing Ling, who had performed all of her ace attacks, had lost to Tua Baku, who had a powerful defense. What was worth noting was that Bing Ling's ace attack, the Ice Crystal Fist art, was getting better and better. It was not easy for Tua Baku to win. Right now it was Xikong Sheng versus Li Daoxian. On the battling platform, Li Daoxian kept performing his sword step art, trying his best to avoid Xikong Sheng's powerful fist power. Waiting for the opportunity, he pushed his sword intent to its limit. The sword light shone brightly, and the sword chi was extremely sharp, cutting towards Xikong Sheng's protective Zhen Qi at an extreme speed. River Tyrant Fist. With his right hand still behind his back, Xikong Sheng turned his left hand into a fist and threw out a punch. The powerful fist power directly caused the air to ripple like a tide. Pop 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 pop. The sword chi was broken, but the power of the fist did not dissipate. It brushed past Li Daoxuan's flying figure and heavily hit the dark blue light screen. The light screen swelled outwards as if it couldn't withstand the force and was about to explode. What level of fist force is this? The ceiling light screen is about to explode. The audience was silent. After a long time, someone said in a trembling voice, "The strength of the ceiling light wall is equivalent to an early astral reaching realm warrior's protective Zhenyuan layer, so it is not likely to be broken." However, Xikong Sheng's fist power is indeed horrifying. Even the most normal protective Zhenyuan layer is not something that normal clasping Yuan realm warriors can break. He's too far ahead of the younger generation. The dark blue light wall on the edge of the battling platform was called the stage ceiling light wall. Although it had nothing to do with Zhenyuan, its defensive power was not weaker than the protective Zhenyuan layer. In the past 1,000 years, no one had ever heard of anyone being able to break through the light wall directly. Even the light wall had barely been shaken. Naturally, no one believed that Xikong Sheng would be able to break through the light wall. However, judging from the previous situation, Xikong Sheng's fist power had obviously reached the limit of the light wall. He's too strong. Every move he makes has such power. How are we supposed to block him? I guess Xikong Sheng has not used all of his power yet. Otherwise, this light wall might not be able to handle it. The young generation was shocked as well. Only the disciples from the Floating Mountain Martial School were full of pride. Once their head disciple became the #1 disciple of the Hidden Dragon rank again, they would be able to enjoy the benefits as well. Even a little bit of that endless luck would be able to save them years of hard work. Silent Sword. Pushing his sword step to its peak, Li Daoxian crossed hundreds of meters and appeared on the right side of Xikong Sheng, throwing out a sword attack without a sound. The sound coming from outside was cut off immediately, and the whole world became silent. Only a soul-stirring sword light was left, shooting towards Xikong Sheng like lightning. Silent killer move, it is worth it for me to use my right hand. His body shook slightly. Xikong Sheng did not make any movement, but he had already turned around, facing Li Daoxian. His right hand reached out from his back and clenched in the air. The calm air suddenly tightened up, as if it had left the whole world and become one with itself. Under this terrifying tightening force, the speed of the sword light rapidly slowed down. In the end, it became visible to the naked eye, and the sword chi was dense. Fist whirled. The clothes on his body fluttered without any wind as Xikong Sheng threw out a fist attack. Crack. When the sword light was less than 5 meters away from Xikong Sheng, it shattered into thousands of pieces, splashing everywhere. Then it shot back like a hornet returning to its nest. Light dots fell like rain. Li Daoxian flashed again and again. Each time he stopped, it would not be longer than a second. However, there were just too many broken sword lights. His shoulders, legs and arms had all been scratched by the light dots, causing blood to spill everywhere. Xikong Sheng stood with his hands behind his back. "You are quite powerful. Your silent ace attack has gotten a bit more powerful." Sealing the acupuncture point to stop the bleeding, Li Daoxian lifted up his head and said, "Among the young generation, you are indeed the most powerful warrior I have ever seen. I heard that after this year's Hidden Dragon rank competitions, you will be going to other regions to train." Indeed. In the South Rudra region I could not feel any pressure anymore. Only by leaving the South Rudra region and seeing the top martial geniuses from other regions would I be able to train even faster. Xikong Sheng had planned for this a long time ago. Although his training speed was the #1 in the whole South Rudra region, and no one could compete with him, it would still be extremely hard for him to reach the life and death realm. It should be known that within the same generation, there would rarely be more than 3 people who could reach the life and death realm. So, it was not hard to imagine how hard it would be. In the next year or two he would go to another region. The dragon fountain chi on his body was being devoured by Xikong Sheng's dragon-shaped shadow. Li Daoxian put away his long sword and said, "I have a feeling that this year's Hidden Dragon rank will not end so easily. I will end it without any suspense." Xikong Sheng's tone was very calm, but it contained an unimaginable confidence. The 67th round, the 35th battle. Yan Qihua against Lin Yun. Skyfall attack. Fire dragon cut. The Jin Qi that the two had trained was slightly different, but they were both fire element Jin Qi. The fire element Jin Qi was famous for its aggressive power. Each of its movements was extremely powerful, bringing up flames everywhere. Shooting star step, wave treading kill. His body was like a shooting star, fast as lightning. Lin Yun performed his ace attack that was just as famous as the dark flame kill, the wave-treading kill. A burning spear attack was shot out along with the endless fire waves. Flame cut. Earth crack cut. Yan Qihua did not back out at all. He threw out a blade attack to block the tip of the spear. He then stabbed his long blade into the ground, slicing upwards, bringing up an even more horrifying fire light. Boom. Lin Yun's 11 Sky Fall Great Art had been pushed to its limit, forming layers of fire yuan shields around his body. The fire yuan shields were thick and heavy, blocking out Yan Qihua's killing blade attack. You have underestimated me. Lose. Gold flame cut. After the earth crack cut, it was an even more powerful ace attack. The blade was covered in flames, and its color had changed from red to gold red. It had burned the air around it into nothingness, turning it into a vacuum world. Without a sound, the bright gold blade light shot out horizontally. It had been accelerated to its limit in the vacuum state, brutally attacking on Lin Yun's fire yuan shield. It was as fast as lightning. Boom. A loud explosion was heard. Lin Yun could not stop his body. He was blown backward along with that burning fire wave. The fire yuan shield around his body had been completely shattered, leaving nothing behind. Damn it. Blood flame break. There were too many bleeding places on his body. Lin Yun waved his hand in the air, and a huge amount of blood gathered into a pile. Under the burning flame, it turned into a blood-colored spear tip that was as long as a forearm. It broke through the air and shot out at an extremely fast speed, leaving a bloody red light on its tail. Second kill gold flame cut. Yan Qihua did not dare to underestimate the power of the blood flame break. He backed out with a strange footwork. As he was backing out, the long blade in his hand suddenly performed its ace attack, clashing onto the tip of the blood-colored spear. A golden-red flame mushroom cloud rose up in the air. The ceiling light wall around the stage expanded a couple of times, looking like a bloated stomach that was constantly shrinking. Shattering the hard platform with one foot, Yan Qihua stabilized his body. The long blade in his hand that was covered in flames pointed at the ground as he opened his mouth. Lin Yun, you are still far from it. Lin Yun was furious inside as he sneered, if it were a life-and-death battle, I might not lose to you. The extreme power of the blood flame break is not just this powerful. If you have lost, then you have lost. What are you talking about? In a life-and-death battle, you might not even have the chance to talk anymore. Along with Yan Qihua's aggressive aura, the dragon-shaped shadow jumped directly at Lin Yun, devouring his dragon fountain qi to replenish its own power. Yan Qihua is indeed not to be underestimated. He has broken Lin Yun's fire yuan shield from the front. This attacking power is extremely horrifying. Right now there are only 3 people who still have an undefeated record. They are Xikong Sheng, Yan Qihua and Yi Chen. The 3 of them will have a battle for sure. I wonder what the result will be. As the battle was coming to an end, the audience knew that the most intense battle was about to begin. They could not control their excitement anymore. The next battle had ended and the 67th round had come to an end. It was already the 68th round. This round did not have much of a challenge for Yi Chen. His opponent was Bing Ling. After dozens of exchanges, Bing Ling had to admit defeat again. The battle in front of him was between Murong Qingqing and Yan Qihua. Murong Qingqing's Sky Demon Sky Art was extremely hard to deal with. Yan Qihua could not break through her defense all of a sudden. Plus, his movement art and skills were not as good as Yi Chen's, so he could not gain the upper hand from the beginning to the end. He could only use his powerful frontal battling power to exchange attacks with Murong Qingqing. Gold flame cut. Flames were everywhere as Yan Qihua threw out 3 blade attacks towards Murong Qingqing. 3 beams of gold-red blade light sliced through the air, chasing after her. Power field cut, protective sky demon kill. Murong Qingqing performed her power field cut with both of her hands, breaking 2 of the blade light instantly. When the last blade light got into the protective sky demon power field, it had been shattered by the rotating power field around Murong Qingqing. Yan Qihua obviously did not expect to beat Murong Qingqing with 3 blade light attacks. His goal was to get closer. Once he got closer, he would throw out his second kill gold flame cut immediately. The Sky Demon power field had been broken by half, but it was eventually blocked by Murong Qingqing's ace attack, condensed power field. However, that aggressive power that had been added to the blade light had blown her away immediately. Crack ground cut. With no time to lose, Yan Qihua stabbed his blade into the ground and threw out a slanted attack, beating his opponent with 1 attack. After the top 4 young warriors had made their moves, there were still 6 warriors left. Without too many surprises, Xikong Sheng had taken out Mo Yen without any effort. Li Daoxian had broken Gu Yoyun's Stone King Body Protective Fist art with his super powerful sword art cultivation. After that, Tua Baku had fought with Lin Yun. Seriously speaking, the battle between the two was the real battle of equals. Tua Baku's defense was super powerful, and Lin Yun's was not weak either. If the two wanted to break through each other's defense, it would be almost impossible. In the end, Lin Yun performed his blood fire break and burned through Tua Baku's protective Jinqi layer. At the same time, Tua Baku performed his dragon traveling world and blew Lin Yun away, landing heavily on the dark blue light wall. The battle was still not over yet. Crawling back up from the ground, the two continued to battle. This time it was no longer a battle of battling power but of stamina. Whoever could last until the end would be the winner. After half an hour, Tua Baku's stamina was still slightly better, and he had barely won against Lin Yun. Right then he was already gasping for air, and his battling power had been greatly reduced. As the battle between the two had ended, there would no longer be any battles between top young warriors in the 68th round, which made people lose their interest. This situation did not last long. Once the 68th round had ended, the sky had already turned dark, and the battles for the day had come to an end. Chapter 281. On the second day, it started to drizzle from the dark sky, landing on the ground. The slightly dark environment made the hidden dragon ancient city look even more ancient. On the battling field there were tons of people, their voices reaching the sky. This little bit of rain did not affect them at all since they had reached the clasping Yuan realm. The first 4 or 5 rounds were fine. But don't you think that starting from the 67th round, the judges have purposely left the 3 of them until the end? What do you think the judges are doing? Their eyesight is way more powerful than us. Naturally they could see it clearly. Otherwise, if the 3 of them were to fight right at the beginning, then the hidden dragon rank competitions would not be perfect. Yeah, that's true. It has been like this for the past few competitions as well. The top battles are always left to the last round. The warriors who were watching the battles had some doubts about the order of the competitions, but they were soon dispelled. As long as it did not violate the rules of the competitions, the judges still had a lot of power. They had the right to arrange their opponents. Even the leaders of the rank 6 martial institutions might not be able to decide, since their disciples were powerful enough. But at the same time, if they were not powerful enough, the arrangement would be useless. It all depended on the power. The 69th round of the competitions had officially begun. The first pair of top young warriors was Li Daoxian and Tua Baku. Compared to Yan Qihua, Li Daoxuan's movement art was slightly better. Besides Xikong Sheng, who had never used his movement art before, he was only second to Yi Qin. Therefore, Tua Baku's uppercut fist could not hit Li Daoxian as he had hoped. Instead, Li Daoxian had taken the opportunity to attack him a couple of times. Eventually, Tua Baku had lost to his silent ace attack. The second pair was Lin Yun and Mo Yen. Although Mo Yen had lost the competition this time, he had finally gained some fame. Judging on power, Lin Yun was not as powerful as Yan Qihua. Judging on battling skills, he was not as powerful as Li Daoxian, not to mention Yi Qin. Therefore he had managed to gain the upper hand with his sky demon eyes. That thick and heavy fire yuan shield had a lot of weaknesses in his eyes. Unfortunately, Lin Yun's power was not to be underestimated. He was a powerful warrior at the same level as Tua Baku. If it were not for the fact that he had suffered too much damage before and his condition had dropped a bit, Mo Yen might not even be able to get the upper hand. After being enraged, Lin Yun threw out a crazy attack. That iron spear that was covered in flames was like a dragon playing in the water, bringing up the wind and waves. The flame was so strong that it had suppressed Mo Yen until the end of the battle. After that, Xikong Sheng and Murong Qingqing started to fight. Among the young generation, the 2 of them were the most popular. Xikong Sheng, the king warrior of the young generation, and the champion of the last hidden dragon rank, it was reasonable for him to be this popular. Although Murong Qingqing's power was not as powerful as Xikong Sheng, sometimes women did not need to rely on their power to win the popularity. Their looks and temperament were also part of their power, since most of the warriors watching the battle were male. You're very strong. Are you interested in going to the other domains with me? Murong Qingqing was about the same age as Xikong Sheng, they were both in their 20s. But in Xikong Sheng's eyes, Murong Qingqing was only a woman. It was that simple. Murong Qingqing shook her head slightly. Sorry, I will go out to train myself. But it is just a personal plan. I do not want to get involved with anyone. What a shame. Sikong Xing did not care too much about it. As a beautiful woman with both power and temperament like Murong Qingqing, no one would not appreciate her beauty. He was no exception. However, for him, besides training, everything else was secondary. He only felt a bit regretful. Let's start. Sikong Sheng looked serious as he signaled to Murong Qingqing. Sky Demon Catch. Without performing any attacking movement, Murong Qingqing accumulated a huge amount of Sky Demon power field with both of her hands, attacking where Sikong Sheng was from a distance. Crack. The ground 3 steps behind Sikong Sheng cracked open. Blink body movement. Murong Qingqing's pupils shrank. She threw out her attack first, and Sikong Sheng moved his body behind her. Because of his extreme speed, normal people would not be able to see his movement at all. It was as if the Sky Demon Catch had gone through his body and landed behind him. It was the first time that Sikong Sheng had performed his movement art. It was obviously more powerful than Li Daoxuan's, and even Yi Chen's was not as powerful as it. Off the stage, Yi Chen squeezed his eyes. The movement art that Sikong Sheng had performed was indeed a top-rank Earth Realm movement art, which was rarely seen even in rank 6 martial institutions. After all, it would be quite good for a normal rank 6 martial institution to have 4 or 5 top-rank Earth Realm martial arts. How could it be possible for them to have all kinds of top-rank Earth Realm martial arts? For example, Li Daoxuan's sword step shift was only top-rank Earth Realm. But of course, it was definitely one of the top-rank Earth Realm flying arts. The good thing is that my separating shadow flying art is also top-rank Earth Realm. Otherwise, I would be in big trouble. Back when he was on the Snake Island in the Star Region Lake, Yi Chen had already trained his Flow Ruah 3 mysterious spell to the 3rd level, which had increased his separating shadow flying arts rank to top-rank Earth Realm. However, since the beginning of the competition he had not only restricted his sword intent, but also his flying art, which was also one of his ace attacks. Force Field Cut. Murong Qingqing accumulated 2 Sky Demon power fields with both of her hands, one positive and the other negative. The fields pressed and combined together, forming a huge cutting power, attacking towards Sikong Sheng. Sikong Sheng's body did not move at all, but he threw out his ace attack from his mysterious Sky Tyrant Fist art, confronting Murong Qingqing's ace attack head-on. Boom. The force field cut was shattered. Fist Tyrant River. After shattering the force field cut with one punch, Sikong Sheng threw out another punch, which had shattered Murong Qingqing's protective Sky Demon power field. It was something that had never happened since the beginning of the competition. Naturally, Murong Qingqing had lost the battle. After devouring Murong Qingqing's Dragon Fountain Qi, Sikong Sheng's dragon-shaped shadow had grown to 80 meters, only 2 feet away from 90 meters. I am afraid that no one would be able to beat Sikong Sheng anymore. No, he would not even be able to fight with all of his power. Even Murong Qingqing's Sky Demon Great Art had been shattered by him with only one punch. In the last Sky Demon rank, Yan Qihua was still able to fight against Sikong Sheng. But this time Sikong Sheng is way too powerful. He is so powerful that most of the young warriors do not even have the right to challenge him. Yeah, Yi Chen's power is at the same level as Yan Qihua. Neither of them would be able to face Sikong Sheng. While everyone was talking, the competition continued until Yi Chen beat Gu Yuyun, and Yan Qihua beat Bing Ling. The 69th round of competitions had come to an end. 2 hours had passed and the 70th round had arrived. The next round would be the last one. This round of competitions had not started yet, but the audience seating had already been heated up. There was nothing else because in this round of competitions, Yi Chen would either be fighting against Yan Qihua or Sikong Sheng. He would have to face one of them eventually, and no matter how the judges arranged the order, it would not change that fact. In the crowd's anticipation, Mo Yen had beaten Bing Ling, and Lin Yun had beaten Gu Yuyun. Now it was Tua Baku and Murong Qingqing's turn. Murong Qingqing's power might not be as powerful as Lin Yun's, and even if it was, it would not be that powerful. However, Tua Baku still could not get the upper hand. Under Murong Qingqing's Sky Demon Catch, Tua Baku could not even maintain his own battling rhythm. On the other hand, Murong Qingqing's power field cut could be ranked in the top 3 among the young generation, seeming to be right behind Sikong Sheng. It was even more powerful than Yan Qihua and Li Daoxuan's ace attacks. Tua Baku's defense would naturally not be able to handle it. But even so, he had only been slightly wounded. After Tua Baku had lost, all of the spectators were getting more and more excited, waiting for the next battle. The 23rd battle, Yi Chen against Yan Qihua. The head judge stood up and announced the battle himself. Boom. The sound wave was so loud that even the rain in the sky had been shaken off. A wave of slight pattern appeared in the air, covering the whole battling field. In this year's Hidden Dragon rank competitions, the 4th to 10th place was basically clear, and there would not be too many changes. Only the top 3 were still in the dark. To be exact, the 2nd and 3rd place were still not clear, and the 1st place had been reserved for Xikong Sheng. Without a doubt, the 2nd and 3rd place would be Yan Qihua and Yi Chen. Xikong Sheng would not even be considered, since only the two of them had won all of their battles without losing a single battle. Yan Qihua paid a lot of attention to this battle. He had already taken out his long blade when he was still off the stage, wearing it on his waist. His whole body was filled with blade intent as he flashed onto the battling platform. A blue light flashed and Yi Chen followed right after him. Facing Yan Qihua's sky-high blade intent and blade aura, Yi Chen's expression did not change at all. With his blue robes and the long sword on his waist, he looked very calm with a sense of calmness. Before the battle, I had never thought that you would be the one to make it this far. The blade intent on Yan Qihua's body was getting stronger and stronger. There was only a thin line between him and the 70% blade intent, and it seemed like it could break through at any second. However, this thin line was not that easy to break. Without a certain level of mastery of the blade art, it would be impossible to break through it even after 3 to 5 years. And this was because there were powerful warriors from the Fire Spirit Palace who had mastered the completed blade intent, who had given him a lot of guidance. Yi Chen looked very calm. Yan Qihua's blade intent had undoubtedly reached the peak of 60%, which was even more mature than the 60% blade intent. Let's fight. The sword intent was like an unsheathed weapon, shooting out of Yi Chen's body. It was the same 60% sword intent, but Yi Chen's sword intent was even purer than Li Daoxuan's. Fire Dragon Cut. The blade chi turned into a dragon as Yan Qihua pushed his Zhen Qi and threw out a horrifying blade attack towards Yi Chen. A deep star-like sword light flashed in the air. No one knew when, but Yi Chen's Star Scar sword had already been taken out of its scabbard. Along with the 60% sword intent and the poetic perspective of the sky-shattering clouds, it accurately pointed at the head of the fire dragon blade chi. Sparks flew everywhere, looking like a rain of fire. Flashing his body, Yi Chen broke through the rain of fire and appeared in front of Yan Qihua, stabbing out his sword. That sword attack was sharp, but it also carried the elegance of a sightseeing. There was no need for any smoke or fire, and it was thrown out naturally, as if he was drawing a landscape painting with his sword. All of his experiences had been condensed into one sword attack. All of the previous battles had not been wasted. Plus, this sword attack did not combine all of the complicated experiences into one. There was not enough time. Yi Chen believed that he was not the only one who had comprehended it, but they would need more time to absorb the essence of it. What? Since the start of the Hidden Dragon rank competitions, it was the first time that Yan Qihua had fallen into a disadvantage. Yi Chen's sword attack made him feel like he could not block it. The poetic perspective of his sword art was too well coordinated, so well coordinated that Yan Qihua did not even know how to fight back. Right then he finally realized how powerful Yi Chen was. His sword art training was so powerful that Li Daoxian could not even compare to him. That sword attack landed right in the middle of the golden-red saber light. The air started to ripple. After a light popping sound, the saber light suddenly shattered. It was split open in the middle like a piece of cloth that had been torn apart. Why does it seem like there is a shadow of the silent ace attack in there? Li Daoxian looked surprised. That sword attack of Yi Chen's seemed to have nothing to do with his silent ace attack. However, in his eyes, it clearly contained the mystery of hiding the sword light, which was extremely tough and penetrating. He had guessed it right. Yi Chen had indeed added a bit of the silent ace attack into it, but it was not as powerful as Li Daoxuan's. But combined with the sky-shattering cloud sword movement and poetic perspective, this sword attack was not only tough, but also had the effect of tearing everything apart. It was the evolved version of the sky-shattering clouds. Yan Qihua was dazed for a second. He had never fought with Yi Chen before, so he did not know how powerful he was. But after fighting with him for a while, he felt that his opponent's mature battle experience was definitely not something that ordinary people could compare with. Every time he would always be able to cause the most damage with the least cost. With Yi Chen as his biggest enemy, Yan Qihua looked extremely serious as he crazily activated his 9-turn Fire Spirit art. 7 turns of Fire Spirit art, Red Flame Battle Body. Every time his 9-turn Fire Spirit art increased by 1 turn, his power would increase tremendously. At the 7th turn he could already beat Li Daoxian in its normal state. Now that he had evolved the 7th turn to the high rank, the red flame battle body, all of his Jin Qi seemed to be burning up. His aura only increased and very soon he had broken through his original level. Crack. The platform under his feet could not handle that aggressive and burning power anymore. Countless twisted cracks appeared on it as the fire qi rose up. In less than half a blink of an eye, Yan Qihua's aura and battling power had increased to the next level. He roared as his whole body jumped up from the ground. That bright red long blade sliced through the air, dragging out a light black light mark in the air. The light mark was not affected by the gravity, which had increased the speed of the blade light drastically. Roar fire lightning. Fire cloud earth crack cut. Off the stage, all of the young warriors who had seen Yan Qihua's powerful attack had lost their composure. They had not expected that Yan Qihua would be this horrifying when he had used his real power. He was like a fire demon. Lin Yun, who had also trained fire element Jin Qi, was no different from a kid in front of him. Focusing his eyes slightly, Yi Chen's body became blurry, turning into layers of shadows that spread out in all directions. It was like a startled moth flying in the sky. Yan Qihua, who was standing in front of him, laughed wildly. "Do not waste your time. Once the fire cloud earth crack cut is performed, the ghosts and the gods will be destroyed." Just as he finished talking, the blade light spread out, looking like a fire cloud in the sky, burning the sky red. Pieces of black shadows had been burned into smoke one after another, disappearing completely. The people in the audience seats could not help but scream. The battle between Yan Qihua and Yi Chen had been full of twists and turns. At first, Yi Chen had the upper hand, but now it was Yan Qihua who had the upper hand. And it seemed like Yan Qihua's advantage was much more obvious. All of the people from the Sky Cloud Martial School looked worried. Right now, it would be a lie if they did not hope for Yi Chen to win the first place. As long as he could beat Yan Qihua, Yi Chen would be able to fight against Xikong Sheng. By then, no matter if he won or lost, it would be enough to shock the whole South Rudra region and bring endless luck to the Sky Cloud Martial School. However, Yan Qihua was just too powerful. Only Su Jing's expression did not change at all. Yi Chen's real power was way more powerful than everyone had imagined. This was her instinct about Yi Chen. The separating shadow flying art, which had been restricted to high-rank Earth realm, was broken. Yi Chen was a bit surprised since his separating shadow flying art was different from normal flying arts. It had reached its current rank with the help of the Flow Rudra 3 mysterious spell, which allowed it to maintain the effect of the separating shadow flying art, and its speed was no weaker than other flying arts of the same rank. Of course, it was not enough to make him change his expression. He backed out of the way and his sky-shattering cloud, which had been activated with his 60% sword intent, was ready to attack. He threw out a sword attack onto that aggressive fire cloud. Swoosh! The fire cloud was blown back. Yan Qihua's fire cloud earth-shattering cut contained the poetic perspective of clouds and fire, while Yi Chen's sky-shattering cloud contained the poetic perspective of clouds and thunder. The two overlapped with each other. Playing with the poetic perspective of clouds in front of Yi Chen was no doubt asking for trouble. What? Yan Qihua backed out quickly, avoiding the attack of the fire cloud. The leader of the Fire Spirit Palace's expression changed drastically as he stared at Yi Chen. He was very clear about Yan Qihua's fire cloud earth-shattering cut, which had reached a very high level of the poetic perspective of clouds. Added with the help of the poetic perspective of fire, it was way more powerful than just two poetic perspectives. However, under Yi Chen's sword attack, the poetic perspective of clouds had been used by him, and had been pushed back. How could he not be shocked? Mortal realm martial arts focus on the aura, and there are very few poetic perspectives. As for Earth realm martial arts, without a poetic perspective, one would not be able to reach its peak. How could this guy's poetic perspective of clouds be more powerful than the red fire? How did he train it? There were countless powerful warriors in the Fire Spirit Palace, and a lot of them had completed the poetic perspectives of Earth realm martial arts. After witnessing and hearing about Yan Qihua's talent, he knew that among the young generation he was only second to Xikong Sheng. The leader of the Fire Spirit Palace did not believe that anyone could surpass his head disciple, Yan Qihua, in terms of poetic perspectives. Yan Qihua did not believe it, so he yelled, "Just now my attacks were too scattered. Let's see how you can break this attack." Fire Cloud Golden Flame Cut. It also contained the poetic perspective of clouds and fire, so the power of the Fire Cloud Golden Flame Cut was extra concentrated. It was thrown out with 60% of the peak blade intent, attacking toward Yi Qin. Stubborn. His body was as straight as a sword as Yi Qin held his star scar sword with both of his hands. The air around the sword body twisted and collapsed rapidly, looking like an ocean of clouds rolling. Then lightning flashed, jumping around. A 1-meter thick lightning light shot out, which was actually formed from sword chi. The sky-shattering clouds used the poetic perspective of clouds as the main one, and the poetic perspective of thunder as the support. However, the way it was presented was the poetic perspective of thunder, and the poetic perspective of clouds as the support. Therefore, at first glance, one would think that it was just the poetic perspective of thunder, but it was actually the poetic perspective of clouds combined with the poetic perspective of thunder. It could be called the poetic perspective of thunder and clouds. The lightning light attacked crazily, landing right in the middle of the golden red blade light. Countless arm-thick electric lights exploded, looking like snakes and spears, very eye-catching. Boom. The blade light was shattered. Yan Qihua had blood dripping out of the corner of his mouth as he backed out a couple of steps. He could not believe that his ace attack was completely useless in front of Yi Qin. It had been completely suppressed, which was something that he could not accept. After shattering Yan Qihua's ace attack with one sword attack, Yi Qin shook his head secretly. If it were someone else, perhaps he would have been beaten by Yan Qihua. Unfortunately, his opponent's poetic perspective of clouds was not as powerful as his, which was why he was naturally suppressed. Therefore, the power of his poetic perspective of fire had been greatly reduced. The world of martial artists was always complicated. Power was only the foundation, and the most important thing was how to turn one's disadvantage into one's advantage, not being suppressed. According to Yi Chen's knowledge, clasping Yuan realm warriors had only touched the surface of the poetic perspective. Once they reached the astral reaching realm, the poetic perspective would be the king. Without a high poetic perspective, one's power would be greatly reduced, unless one's foundation was extremely powerful and could ignore other people's poetic perspectives. Just like the minor blood demon separating great art, which was a special earth realm martial art. It did not care about poetic perspectives, but only focused on increasing the warrior's power, which was the foundation. Therefore, for high-level warriors, the basic power was important, but the comprehensive ability was equally important. The former could increase one's natural advantage, while the latter could make up for one's weakness and win against the strong. With both, one would be a powerful warrior. I have not lost yet. Flame cut. After comprehending the peak level 60% blade intent, Yan Qihua's mentality was extra solid, and he would not be affected easily. Right then he knew that the poetic perspective of clouds would not work on Yi Qin, so he used the pure poetic perspective of fire and threw it out together with his ace attack. The fire wave was extremely powerful, spreading out everywhere. Poetic perspectives alone are the hardest to understand. Your poetic perspective of fire is not even at the tip of the iceberg. Thunder light exploded as Yi Qin threw out a sword attack, cutting open the fire wave. His body flashed as he performed his separating shadow flying art. Layers of shadows spreading out in all directions. Ding. Without seeing the sword light, Yan Qihua's red long blade flew out of his hand. Chapter 283. His sword movement poetic perspective has obviously reached a very high level, almost the same as normal astral reaching realm warriors. It would be fine if Yi Qin did not expose his poetic perspective completely, but once he did, powerful astral reaching realm warriors would definitely be able to tell. Even clasping Yuan realm warriors would be able to sense the power of Yi Chen's poetic perspective. After blowing away Yan Qihua's long blade with one sword attack, Yi Qin jumped back to where he was standing. Talking about the poetic perspective, Yi Qin had found a different way. The others would use earth realm martial arts to slowly understand the poetic perspective, but he had learned it by combining sword movements. Both of them had their own advantages. Using a complete earth realm martial art to understand the poetic perspective would be easier and easier to master. However, combining sword movements was not only extremely difficult, but also easy to get stuck. But the advantage of combining sword movements was that during the process of combining, one would be able to understand the poetic perspective more thoroughly and control it more deeply. Therefore, although Yan Qihua had trained a very powerful martial art, he had lost to Yi Qin in terms of poetic perspective. After beating Yan Qihua, the dragon-shaped shadow on Yi Chen's body spun once before jumping onto his body, trying its best to devour the dragon fountain qi. 26 meters, 27 meters, 28 meters. Yan Qihua's dragon fountain chi was too rich, and Yi Chen's dragon-shaped shadow had grown to 28 meters, just like Xikong Sheng. Of course, Xikong Sheng and Yan Qihua still had to battle, and by then, it should be more than 28 meters, reaching the level of 29 meters. You are very powerful, but unfortunately you will lose to him eventually. Yan Qihua glanced at Xikong Sheng, who was still in the audience, and reached out his hand to suck back his long blade. Yi Chen said, "You do not need to worry about that. I still have another battle with him. You will see the gap between us." Actually, Yan Qihua had already suspected that Xikong Sheng had reached that level. It was not until the battle between him and Murong Qingqing, where he had almost shattered the ceiling light wall with one punch, that Yan Qihua finally realized the truth. Because of the arrangement of Xikong Sheng, Yan Qihua, and Yi Chen to the last two battles were a bit weird. Yan Qihua not only had to fight against Yi Chen, but also against Xikong Sheng because he had lost to Yi Chen. However, the referees were prepared for this situation. They allowed the uninjured Yan Qihua to rest for half an hour before he went on stage. On the stage, Yan Qihua, who had lost to Yi Chen, held a long saber in his hand. His whole body was surrounded by flames and his momentum was strong. It was obvious that he had upgraded the 9 Revolutions Fire Spirit technique to the 7th Revolution, the Crimson Flame Battle Body. "I know you have reached that level, but I will still fight with all my power." Swinging his long blade, a deep burning mark appeared on the ground as Yan Qihua said to Xikong Sheng. Xikong Sheng's eyebrows flickered slightly. "There should be a lot of people who know about it. But I did not expect you to be able to see it when you are only at the Clasping Yuan realm." Yan Qihua said, "I am not that far away from that level. Otherwise I would have made a mistake as well." "Well yeah, make your move then." Fire Cloud Crack Earth Cut. Facing Xikong Sheng, Yan Qihua did not dare to hold back at all. One of his top 2 ace attacks, the Fire Cloud Crack Earth Cut, was thrown out aggressively, attacking towards his opponent like a flood. Fist Tyrant River. Xikong Sheng took out his right hand from his back. His fist was covered in a thick chi as he threw out a punch. Boom. The fist power was like a dragon crossing the ocean, unstoppable. It split open the Fire Cloud Blade Light within a second, attacking towards Yan Qihua. Among all of Yan Qihua's ace attacks, the Blink Kill Golden Flame Cut was the fastest. He threw out a blade attack and a gold light flashed in the air, clashing with the fist power. Fist Conquering Mountains. Xikong Sheng lifted his feet as if they were light as a feather, walking over and throwing out another punch. Boom. The area around Yan Qihua had been restricted like a cage. Even the fire element Zhen Qi on his body seemed to be shrinking into his body. He roared, his red flame battle body exploding. The flame was so condensed that it looked like it was real, burning fiercely. It had burned through the air and part of the restriction. His second ace attack, the Fire Cloud Golden Flame Cut, was ready for the incoming attack. Xikong Sheng's battling power had increased steadily. He threw out a punch, and that powerful fist power had not only shattered Yan Qihua's blade light, it had also blown him away. That shocking power had made most of the people open their eyes wide. Yan Qihua was ranked 2nd in the last Hidden Dragon rank and he was ranked 3rd this time. However, he could not even handle 2 punches from Xikong Sheng. What kind of level had Xikong Sheng reached? All of the astral reaching realm warriors knew what was going on, but they were still shocked. So powerful. They are both from the young generation, but how could Xikong Sheng be this powerful? Yi Chen could not possibly be his opponent. People from the Sky Cloud Martial School looked at each other. The headmaster of the Sky Cloud Martial School forced a smile and said, "Yi Chen being able to reach the 2nd place is already beyond our imagination. There is no need to hope for the 1st place." Luo Xinglia nodded, "I suspect that Xikong Sheng has entered the Zhen Yuan purification stage." This? Everyone was shocked and did not say anything for a long time. His feet landed on the ground unsteadily. Yan Qihua looked like he had expected it. "This should be very close to your real power." Xikong Sheng said lightly, "Too bad that you did not have the chance to experience it." "Yes, none of us had the chance to experience it. But once I make it to this step, it will not be so clear who will win or lose." Putting his long blade back into its scabbard, Yan Qihua walked off the stage. After losing to Yi Chen and Xikong Sheng in a row, his rank had already been confirmed, the 3rd place of the Hidden Dragon rank. When he walked off the stage, Yan Qihua glanced at Yi Chen as if he was saying, "You saw it. Without reaching that level you will not be his opponent." Yi Chen looked the same as if he had not heard it at all. "Huh. It seems like you still have some tricks up your sleeves." However, no matter how many tricks you have up your sleeves, it would still be useless. Seeing Yi Chen's expression, Yan Qihua probably knew that Yi Chen still had some ace up his sleeves. Unfortunately, no matter how powerful his ace was, it would be useless if he did not have the same power. The battle between two geniuses would not be that easy to win against someone stronger than you. In the 70th round, there were 9 top young warriors who had fought before. Only Li Daoxian had not fought yet. After the battle between Yan Qihua and Xikong Sheng had finished, Lin Yun and Li Daoxian, who had already fought against each other, had started to fight. It was Lin Yun's last battle, and it was Li Daoxuan's 8th battle. The reason for the chaos in the competition was because of the problem of arranging Xikong Sheng, Yan Qihua and Yi Chen to fight in the last 2 battles. After exchanging hundreds of attacks, Li Daoxian had barely won against Lin Yun. After resting for an hour, the 70th round had begun. In the 70th round, there were 6 battles in total. Therefore, there were only 4 battles left in the 70th round. They were Yi Chen against Xikong Sheng, Li Daoxian against Bing Ling, Murong Qingqing against Gu Yuyun, and Tua Baku against Mo Yen. As for Yan Qihua and Lin Yun, they had both gone through 9 battles and fought against 9 top young warriors. So, they would not be involved in this round of battles. First, it was Murong Qingqing who had beaten Gu Yuyun, and then Tua Baku who had beaten Mo Yen again. They had fought against each other before in the elimination battles, and then Li Daoxian had also beaten Bing Ling. In the end, there was only one battle between top young warriors left, which would be Yi Chen against Xikong Sheng. Yi Chen was the biggest dark horse in this year's Hidden Dragon rank competitions. He had been through all the battles and had won every single one of them. Up until now, he had not lost a single battle and had maintained his winning record. The most eye-catching thing was that his power had been increasing along with his opponent's power. He had hidden his ace cards quite well. In the last round, he had even surprised everyone by beating the Fire Spirit Prince, Yan Qihua. Xikong Sheng was ranked 2nd and 1st in the last Hidden Dragon rank, the king warrior of the young generation in the South Rudra region. Even someone as powerful as Yan Qihua could not last 2 attacks against him. A lot of people suspected that Xikong Sheng's real power was way more than that. As for what his real ace card was, no one knew. This battle was not only the last battle between top young warriors, it was also the last battle of the 70th round. Countless people had their eyes on the two, holding their breaths. Yi Chen got onto the stage first, with his long sword hanging on his waist. Xikong Sheng sneered as he took one step forward, appearing in front of Yi Chen within a second. His horrifying flying art had caused a lot of people to gasp. Your power is not bad. Even Yan Qihua had lost to you. But the 2nd place will always be the 2nd place. It will not change. Xikong Sheng stood there with his hands behind his back. That kind of aura spreading out through the ceiling light wall. This aura is so powerful. Has Xikong Sheng decided to use his real power? Everyone was shocked. Under the attack of his opponent's aura, Yi Chen's blue robe danced in the air, his long black hair flying in the air. His pitch-black star-like eyes were calm like water, without arrogance or impatience, pure and natural. He was like a top sword artist standing on top of a cliff, neither happy nor sad. He said lightly, until the last second, no one can be sure of the real result. Do you still think so now? Xikong Sheng did not try to explain as he took out both of his hands from his back. His body shook once, and that horrifying Jin Qi shot out into the sky, covering the whole area. Visible with naked eyes, there were bits of broken light floating out of Xikong Sheng's body. They looked like precious stones but also like diamonds, crystal clear and extremely condensed. This is Zhen Yuan. No, it is half-step Zhen Yuan. Xikong Sheng had actually started to train his Zhen Yuan. No wonder he was so powerful. Once he used his half-step Zhen Yuan, no one under the astral-reaching realm would be able to fight against him. I understand now. In the battles before, Xikong Sheng had diluted his half-step Zhen Yuan into Zhen Qi, which made it hard for people to see through his real power. Indeed, Zhen Yuan could not be diluted into Zhen Qi, but half-step Zhen Yuan could. Xikong Sheng had hidden his power too well. Yi Chen would definitely not be his opponent. No, even Ten Yi Chen would not be his opponent. A king warrior of the young generation with half-step Zhen Yuan would be able to compete with real early astral-reaching realm warriors. He might even be able to kill them. Once Xikong Sheng used his half-step Zhen Yuan, no one thought that Yi Chen would have any chance of winning, including people from the Sky Cloud Martial School and the leader of the South Rudra Martial School. Everyone from the Purple Sun Martial School even had a gloating expression on their faces. Yi Chen beating Yan Shihua had already pissed them off, and if he were to get the first place, then it would be even worse. Luckily, there was Xikong Sheng, so it would be impossible for Yi Chen to get the first place. Do you think you can win against me now? Inside his body, the half-step Zhenyuan was extremely powerful. Xikong Sheng's aura kept on increasing as if it would never stop. It attacked on Yi Chen's body wave after wave. Yi Chen lifted his eyelids, a shocking sharp light shooting out from his pupils as he said word by word, "I have said it before, until the last one, no one can be sure of the real result." As the last word was spoken, the air around Yi Chen started to vibrate. The air seemed to have been pierced through, as if a legendary weapon was about to come out of its scabbard and kill the whole world. The next second, an extremely horrifying sword intent shot out of his body, piercing through the air. Even the ceiling light wall seemed to be shaking. It was an existence that had surpassed the 60% sword intent. The 70% sword intent, which contained the immortal mentality, exploded. Chapter 284. All of a sudden, the whole battling field became so quiet that even the sound of a needle dropping on the ground could be heard. After 2 or 3 blinks of an eye, the crowd started to chatter again. This is the 70% sword intent. Am I seeing it right? Although there is only a 10% difference between 70 and 60%, 70% sword intent has already reached the upper realm of the sword intent, while 60% is only the lower realm. The two are completely different, just like the difference between a high-level warrior and a low-level warrior. This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. Yi Chen's ace card is the 70% sword intent. Even among the astral reaching realm warriors, very few of them have reached this level. Everyone was shocked, unable to believe what they had just heard. In the front row of the audience seating, Song Yen, the astral reaching realm warrior who had competed with Yi Chen for the sword-shaped plant in the gold tripod city auction, was slightly shocked. He remembered that at that time, Yi Chen's sword intent was only at 50%. Could it be that the two sword-shaped plants had directly increased his sword intent by 20%? It did not seem possible. The sword-shaped plant contained a bit of the Battle King's sword intent, but if one wanted to increase the sword intent with the plant, the chance would be extremely small. It would already be extremely lucky if 1 out of 10 people managed to do it, not to mention increasing it by 20% all of a sudden. Plus, there was a huge gap between the 60% and 70% sword intent. The 60% sword intent was still at the lower realm of the sword intent, while the 70% sword intent was the upper realm. Once one managed to reach the upper realm, it would mean that one had made a great achievement in the sword intent, which would be very meaningful. Before, Song Yin had bought a sword-shaped plant from Yi Chen, but it had only helped him a little bit. His sword intent did not increase at all, and was still at 90%. No matter what, in order to increase the sword intent, one would need to have an extremely powerful understanding of the sword art. Otherwise, even a life and death realm warrior would not be able to be one's teacher. A rare genius of the sword art. Song Yin took a deep breath, his eyes shining brightly. The second Yi Chen released his 70% sword intent, Li Daoxian had finally understood why he had that kind of instinct. It turned out that the biggest reason was Yi Chen, who was powerful enough to compete with Xikong Sheng. This was his real ace card. Before, he had not been serious at all. The realm of sword intent is indeed terrifyingly strong. Li Daoxian made a comparison and found that the 60% sword intent didn't even look like it was going to raise its head in front of the 70% sword intent. As for Yan Shihua, he had almost bitten his own tongue. He had never thought that Yi Chen's hidden ace would be the 70% sword intent. The sword intent was just like the blade intent, the higher the level, the more difficult it would be. But at the same time, the power would also be more and more terrifying. Moreover, the 70% sword intent was the upper level of the sword intent. If Yi Chen used his 70% sword intent during the battle, not only would Yan Shihua's peak 60% blade intent not be able to compete with it, but he would also be suppressed, and would only be able to use 80% of his power. Impossible. How can his sword intent be at such a high level? The leader of the Purple Sun Martial School, Tu Chongshan, tightened his fists. The more powerful Yi Chen was, the more of a threat he would be to the Purple Sun Martial School. Given time, once he reached the astral reaching realm, even the Great Master might not be able to suppress him, which was not what Tu Chongshan wanted to see. The headmaster of the Purple Sun Martial School had a bad look on his face as he sneered, "Xikong Sheng is not a pushover." The half-step Zhen Yuan had increased his power in all aspects, and he would be able to compete with early astral reaching realm warriors. But Yi Chen cannot be allowed to live either. After the hidden dragon rank competitions, we will find a chance to kill him, no matter how high the price is. Indeed. This guy cannot be allowed to live. Otherwise, the Purple Sun Martial School would never have a chance to rise again. Kill. All of the people from the Purple Sun Martial School had a murderous look on their faces. On the judge's seat, the 13 judges gasped. I had thought that Xikong Sheng would definitely win. But now, it seems like the first place of the hidden dragon rank is not a foregone conclusion. One of the judges sighed. The former Group 3 judge who had been watching Yi Chen win all the battles nodded, not even 18 years old, 70% sword intent. This has definitely broken the record of the sword artists in the South Rudra region for decades. It would not be wrong to call him the rare sword art genius in the South Rudra region. It is not easy to make a conclusion yet. The head judge said, extracting Jin Yuan depends on the rank of the martial arts, and the number of times is different. For mid-rank Earth Realm martial arts, it would take 8 times to convert the Jin Qi into Jin Yuan. For high-rank Earth Realm martial arts, it would take 4 times, and for top-rank Earth Realm martial arts, it would take 2 times. Xikong Sheng had already done it once and he was at the half-step Jin Yuan level. Although it would not be like the Jin Yuan which could burn the Jin Yuan to increase the power, the quality would be way better than normal Jin Qi. The attacking power it would bring would not just be a little bit but would be doubled. If Yi Chen wants to compete with Xikong Sheng, it would still be a bit difficult for him to do it with only 70% sword intent. Extracting Jin Yuan was a very difficult process and it would take a long time. Even a martial genius would not be able to do it in a short amount of time. But once it was done once, the power would increase drastically, and he would be able to reach the next level. With 70% sword intent coming out of his body, Yi Chen felt a lot more relaxed. Before he had limited his sword intent, which made it hard for him to fight freely. But Yi Chen believed that if there was a Yi Chen who had only learned 60% sword intent, he would definitely be able to beat him, who had limited his sword intent to 60%, because the former would be the most comfortable way for him to fight, while he would have to put on the shackles of his own accord, which would make it different. The pure horrifying sword intent spread out in the air, piercing through the air. Xikong Sheng's storm-like aura had been shattered into nothingness by the sword intent once it got close. Right then, Yi Chen was like a godly weapon that had been unearthed from the ground, telling the world what it meant to be sharp and unstoppable. Oh. Xikong Sheng could vaguely hear his aura being shattered. His slightly raised eyelids finally dropped down, his eyes looking at Yi Chen at the same level. Very good. I thought it would be a one-sided battle. Right now you are qualified for me to be serious. But of course that is all. His aura had stopped spreading out and Xikong Sheng took back his aura. His not-so-tall body was like a mountain, an unreachable peak. Under the influence of the sword intent, the Star Scar sword vibrated slightly, seeming to want to get out of its scabbard and kill everything in front of it. Yi Chen did not look happy or angry as he said, "No need to talk anymore. Let's fight." Once the word fight came out, Yi Chen's sword intent became even sharper. Everyone seemed to see a peerless great sword floating above Yi Chen's head, which would be able to kill with just a thought. All of the young girls saw this scene, their hearts beating extremely fast and their faces blushed. Let me remind you that only with the help of half-step Jin Yuan can my mysterious Sky Tyrant Fist art perform its peak power. With both of his hands hanging casually on his sides, Xikong Sheng took a step forward. That ocean-like aura exploded again, looking down on the whole world. Xikong Sheng is going to attack. This is his first real attack. The young generation under the stage could feel their hearts racing uncontrollably. Their mouths were all dry, and they could not even blink their eyes, afraid to miss the most crucial moment. His aura exploding to its limit, Xikong Sheng yelled, "Take my first fist attack." Fist conquering the world. Boom. The battling platform shook violently, cracks appearing out of nowhere. Then the space where Yi Chen was suddenly tightened and collapsed, forming a natural prison, trapping Yi Chen inside. At the same time, that powerful fist power attacked out along with Xikong Sheng's aura. Crack, 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 crack. After throwing out one fist attack, the battling platform, which had gone through countless battles and was only slightly damaged, created a tunnel. That aggressive chi flow made everyone's scalp numb. Chen. Yi Chen took out his Star Scar sword with his right hand. His 70% sword intent had found a target to attach to. That horrifying sharp light spread out in all directions, shocking everyone. Right then, the sword intent was the most powerful sword intent. If a sword artist did not take out his sword, the sword intent would not be able to perform its peak power. Sky-shattering clouds. A half-meter thick bolt of lightning shot out. Not only did it break free from the shackles of space, it also absorbed enough thunder and cloud elemental energy from the air. Under everyone's dumbfounded gaze, it heavily slammed into the fist energy. Boom. The air started to explode. That horrifying collision power formed a visible shining pattern and horrifying chi flow. The ceiling light wall could no longer handle the destructive power of the two attacks, and started to expand to its limit. Along with a popping sound, countless tiny cracks appeared. The chi flow and the remaining sword chi shot out through the cracks, looking like countless arm-thick light pillars. Looking over, the whole battling platform looked like a shining hedgehog. The ceiling light wall had been punctured. Everyone was shocked. Watch out! Around the battling platform was an abyss, and on the other side of the abyss was where the young warriors were standing. Seeing those beams of chi flow and sword chi shooting towards them, the young warriors screamed out loud. They all performed their ace attacks to protect themselves while backing out step by step. So horrifying. Just the aftermath of the chi flow is enough to make us use all of our power. The young warriors could feel the gap between them and the two on the stage, so they were getting more and more shocked. Murong Qingqing waved off the chi flow attack, staring at the two on the stage without blinking. More specifically, she was paying attention to Yi Qin, the one who had shocked everyone from the beginning to the end. Yi Qin and Xikong Sheng both backed out dozens of meters at the same time. That exchange just now was more or less a test, so it was not their most powerful attack. Half-step Zhenyuan. It is indeed powerful. It was the first time that Yi Qin had felt such a huge pressure. If he did not use all of his power, he might very well lose. The young king warriors of the South Rudra region were always talking nonsense. 70% sword intent, the poetic perspective of cloud and thunder. Xikong Sheng looked surprised. As Yi Qin's 70% sword intent exploded, his martial poetic perspective had also reached an extremely high level, and he could not afford to underestimate it. Waving his sleeves, Xikong Sheng said lightly, "Being able to block out this fist attack means that you indeed have the power to compete with me. But that was just a test. For the next one you will have to be extra careful." The mountain-conquering fist had the effect of binding space, so its attacking power would inevitably be a bit weaker. Xikong Sheng knew that instead of binding his opponent, it would be better to beat his opponent with absolute power. This sword attack was also my test. The sky-shattering clouds does not only have this kind of power. For this hidden dragon rank competition, Yi Qin had prepared a lot. He had more than 3 ace attacks, 2 of which he would not use unless absolutely necessary. Still just a test? No way. The first exchange between the two had already shocked everyone. Now hearing them say that it was just a test, everyone was speechless. Chapter 285. Indeed, these two have already surpassed our level. Before the competitions of the hidden dragon rank had started, Tua Baku had used his wild instinct to guess that Xikong Sheng and Yi Qin were the most powerful warriors. Right now his guess had come true. Xikong Sheng's biggest ace was his half-step Zhenyuan, while Yi Qin's was 70% sword intent. No one in the young generation could threaten them. On the battling platform, Yi Qin held his Star Scar sword, the Zhen Qi inside his body operating at an extreme speed. His sharp sword intent and sword aura continued to climb, preparing for the next powerful sword attack. Xikong Sheng, who was standing in front of him, was also accumulating his power. His fist aura was extremely rich, turning into waves of powerful poetic perspectives. The two had gotten rid of the feeling of testing each other, and decided to use all of their power. Boom. It was almost within the same second that the two started to attack each other fiercely. Sky-shattering clouds. 5 movements combined. Yi Qin's pupils had almost been dyed into a bright blue color, which was the color of thunder and lightning. His body was running at an extreme speed while the Star Scar sword in his hand had turned into a lightning light attacking crazily. His speed was extremely fast with a hint of lightness in it. Fist Tyrant River. Xikong Sheng looked very serious as he threw out an ace attack. That powerful fist aura had pierced through the air in front of him. Boom. The thunder sword light and the powerful fist power clashed together. The whole battling platform started to shake. The broken rocks on the platform floated up into the air, turning into a strange, still state. The next second the air started to vibrate like boiling water. That aggressive chi power spread out in all directions, exploding suddenly. Yi Qin could not stop his body, and was blown hundreds of meters away by that chi power. Such a condensed fist power. Yi Chen controlled his qi and blood that were going against the flow. Although that sword attack was still his sky-shattering clouds, it was the combination of 5 movements of his sky cloud sword art. It was more than twice as powerful as the combination of 4 movements. After all, he had spent so many days in the competitions, and it had given him a lot of inspiration. However, Xikong Sheng's fist power was even more aggressive. It had been completely combined into one. With only one fist power, it had shaken the whole world. The sword intent and the poetic perspective of thunder and clouds had both been shattered by it. His mysterious Sky Tyrant fist art is probably the most horrifying top-rank Earth Realm fist art. No matter the movements or mentality, they are all top-notch. I am slightly disadvantaged in terms of martial art rank. Although fusing sword moves could solve the problem temporarily, it was not a long-term solution after all. If he wanted to have more potential, he would have to find a top-rank Earth Realm sword art to cultivate. Of course, top-rank Earth Realm martial arts couldn't be lacking either. However, my mentality of thunder and clouds is not ordinary either. Combined with 70% sword intent, its explosive power is definitely top-notch. Yi Chen let out a breath, looking at Xikong Sheng in front of him. Under the explosion of his qi, Xikong Sheng had backed out less than 10 meters compared to Yi Chen. However, he was not feeling any better either. That thunder sword light was full of explosive power, and it had released its most powerful power in a very short period of time, which made the fist power of the mysterious Sky Tyrant fist unable to shatter it immediately. The reason why he was able to back out less than 10 meters was because Xikong Sheng's basic power was more powerful than Yi Chen's. No matter cultivation, Jin Qi quality or quantity, he was more powerful than Yi Chen. This was his biggest advantage, but also Yi Chen's biggest disadvantage. Good, very good. In these 3 years, you are the first young warrior that could make me back out. You should be proud. Lifting up his eyes, Xikong Sheng's gaze was like that of a god, full of confidence. But now, I will not hold back anymore. You need to be prepared to be badly wounded. Just bring it on. No need to talk too much. Yi Chen's sword intent was condensed without disappearing. It was getting sharper and sharper, shaking the air around him. In fact, up until now he had never truly released his 70% sword intent, because his 70% sword intent was different from other people's 70% sword intent. From the Battle King's 2 sword intents, he had learned a little bit of immortal mentality. After a couple of months of accumulation, his sword intent could finally stay in the real world for 5 blinks of an eye. It was an extremely horrifying improvement, since even other people's completed sword intent did not have this kind of effect. Moving his body within a second, Xikong Sheng wanted to get close to Yi Chen and attack him with a deadly attack. My movement art is not weaker than yours either. As the wind blew, Yi Chen's body disappeared like a pile of black smoke. Seeing that, Xikong Sheng frowned. In his sight, Yi Chen's figure could no longer be seen. Yi Chen's movement art was also at the top rank Earth Realm, and it contained a very special effect. His whole body seemed to have turned into a shadow. Since this is the case, take my fist-shattering river. Stopping his body, Xikong Sheng locked onto Yi Chen again, throwing out a fist attack. Immortal sky-shattering clouds. The immortal mentality from his sword intent had been poured into his sword movement. Yi Chen held his Star Scar sword with both of his hands, throwing out a dark blue thunder light towards Xikong Sheng. Chapter 286. Lone Peak Kill. Xikong Sheng threw out a punch, but there was a slight pause. Yi Chen seized the opportunity, turning his body and stabbing out with his sword. With the help of the 70% sword intent that contained the immortal mentality, the fatal poetic perspective spread out, covering Xikong Sheng within a 10 meters radius. Xikong Sheng knew that it was not going to be good, so he forced himself to break out of the poetic perspective and teleported dozens of meters away. A beam of sword chi shot out, piercing through the ceiling light wall. All of the clasping Yuan Realm warriors in the audience seating felt their mouths go dry. The two's attacking power was unbelievable. One had pierced through the ceiling light wall, while the other had pierced through it. If it were a clasping Yuan Realm warrior, who would be able to handle it? Not to mention a clasping Yuan Realm warrior, even a normal early astral reaching realm warrior would not be able to handle it. Another indestructible sword chi. Xikong Sheng looked serious. If it were not for his half-step Zhen Yuan and his powerful mental power, that sword attack would have wounded him badly. Both of them threw out one attack each, then continued to fight. Sikong Xing used his teleportation step art to catch Yi Chen's trace from time to time, throwing out his most aggressive attacks. Meanwhile, Yi Chen used the super dodging ability of his separating shadow flying art to keep dodging all of those attacks. Once he found the chance, he would throw out a dangerous counterattack. Everyone in the audience could only hear the horrifying sound of attacks, as the ceiling light wall was pierced through again and again. Boom. This time, the ceiling light wall had been torn apart directly. The fist power and the sword chi had been combined together, attacking towards the young warriors on the other side of the abyss. It turned out that Yi Chen and Sikong Xing did not want to give in to each other. During the battle, they had both made up their minds and threw out an attack. The head judge frowned as he extended his body, covering hundreds of meters in front of that horrifying chi flow. He reached out his hand to block it out. Although the combined chi flow of the two was extremely powerful, the head judge was a late astral-reaching realm warrior. He could shatter the ground with just a wave of his hand, so this chi flow would not be a threat to him. The chi flow had disappeared as the head judge turned his head and said, "Back out a bit." Hearing him, the young warriors did not dare to try their best. They all backed out. The attacks from Yi Chen and Sikong Xing alone could kill them, not to mention the combined chi flow. Undying heaven-shattering clouds. Gradually getting used to the maximum distance of Sikong Xing's teleportation, Yi Chen intercepted him in advance. He then held his sword with only one hand, waving it out at an even faster speed. The thunder roared, attacking towards Sikong Xing. Oh. Unfortunately, my space teleport step can also teleport in midair. Before his feet had even touched the ground, Sikong Xing's body flashed once, returning to where he was standing. Whoosh. The ceiling light wall was torn apart, and the thunder sword chi flew towards the audience seating. It was caught by a mid-astral reaching realm warrior. Once Sikong Xing returned to where he was standing, he threw out an ace attack towards Yi Chen. Boom. On the other side, the ceiling light wall had also been broken through. As for Yi Chen, he had already activated his separating shadow flying art the moment he missed Sikong Xing's attack. Sikong Xing had already prepared for his next attack. Aiming at the direction where Yi Chen was going to dodge, he bent his back and formed a fist with his left hand, throwing out a punch on the platform. Fist shaking mountains and seas. That powerful fist power spread out, looking like waves in the ocean. It was also like countless steep mountains pressing towards Yi Chen, blocking his escape route. Yi Chen knew that there was no way out, so he held his star scar sword with both of his hands and threw out a sword attack. The ocean had turned violent, and the mountains had collapsed. Yi Chen's sword attack had directly destroyed the fist aura of the mysterious Sky Tyrant fist art. Naturally, it had also turned into tiny electric arcs and disappeared. Yi Chen, this fist attack was supposed to be my ace attack. I was not planning to use it in the competitions of the Hidden Dragon rank, because no one is worthy enough for me to use it. It is still not too late for you to give up now. Otherwise, with this fist attack you will either die or be badly wounded. Even I would not be able to control it. As one of the king warriors of the young generation, Sikong Xing would always leave some ace attacks for himself, in case his power was seen through by others. However, Yi Chen's power was completely out of his expectation. If he did not use this ace attack, it would be hard for him to win this battle. Yi Chen looked surprised. He did not know that Sikong Xing still had an ace attack, so he said, "You have left your ace attack, but so have I. Then let's use our ace attack to see who is better." Once he used it, it would be like telling them that it was him who killed Yuan Zonghua. Plus, the minor blood demon separating great art was the blood demon's secret martial art. If he used it, he would not know what the consequences would be. Yi Chen did not like to do things that he could not control. Besides that, he did not plan to use that bit of Zhen Yuan that he had refined from the mysterious great art either. He believed that if he used it, it would be enough to beat Sikong Xing, who had only trained half-step Zhen Yuan. However, the Zhen Yuan was his last ace attack and also his most powerful one. The future was unpredictable, and if he used it, he would have less chance to save his life. Then there was only the third ace attack left. They still have more ace attacks? All of the warriors who were watching the battle were completely numb. They felt that they had never seen such powerful clasping Yuan realm warriors in their entire lives. "Since you do not know what is good for you, then don't blame me for not warning you," Sikong Xing yelled. The aura around his body started to expand and spread out. His whole body did not seem to have changed much, but it gave people a feeling that he had grown infinitely tall, standing in the sky. Sky-breaking fist. This fist attack was the ace attack of the Sky Tyrant fist art. Performed by Sikong Sheng, who had the aura of a giant, it shot out with an unstoppable momentum, shattering the surreal space. Just as he finished speaking, Yi Chen was ready to perform his ace attack. He held the sword with both of his hands and sank his mind into the sword intent. It was like an ancient well without any ripples. It was secretly accumulating a horrifying power, giving people a feeling of the calm before the storm, or the darkness before the dawn. Waiting until Sikong Sheng's fist power had been thrown out, Yi Chen had finished accumulating his power. He threw out a sword attack. Kill heart. Boom. The fist power and the sword chi clashed together violently. The ceiling light wall on the four sides was shattered at the same time. It was shattered by brute force. A massive chi flow spreading out in all directions. Looking up, a shocking scene happened. Sikong Sheng's fist power had been punctured through by a sword attack, quickly dispersing. At the same time, Yi Chen's sword chi did not disappear completely. It heavily landed on Sikong Sheng's half-step protective Zhen Yuan along with a determined poetic perspective. His half-step protective Zhen Yuan was torn apart. Sikong Sheng puked out a mouthful of blood and was blown backward. Oh! Yi Chen breathed heavily. Throwing out that sword attack had consumed a lot of his mental power, and his condition had dropped a bit. However, he was very satisfied with its power. He had performed this kill heart sword attack before. It was when he was fighting against the Wind Wolf in the Gold Tripod City. Back then he was trying to combine his lone peak kill, and accidentally combined the one sword attack into it, killing the Wind Wolf with only one sword attack. Back then he was only a mid-clasping Yuan Realm warrior, and the two combined sword attacks did not have much power. His sword intent was only at 50%, which meant that his power was not even worth mentioning compared to his current power. However, the Wind Wolf could not even handle that sword attack and was killed right away, although it was not in its peak condition back then. Among them, the Battle King, Su King, and Shenhe had shown the most amazing potential. They were even more powerful than Yi Chen right now, and they had also made the biggest achievements. Of course, Yi Chen was born with a defect and he had just started to rise up. It would be hard to tell how much he would be able to achieve in the future, but he undoubtedly has the potential to reach the life and death realm. Hearing him, Luo Xinglia nodded. The headmaster was right, the Sky Cloud Martial School would not have this kind of potential. The problem was most likely with Yi Chen. When a person's potential was beyond the martial institution, then he would have the possibility to reach the life and death realm. This had all been shown by Yi Chen. It seems like he had a feeling that he would not be able to achieve anything great if he stayed in the martial institution. That is why he went out to train. The martial institution was like a chain that would restrict the growth of the young generation of life and death realm warriors. This chain would get heavier and heavier as one's cultivation increased. One would have to leave as soon as possible. Otherwise, no matter how great one's potential was, it would all be wasted away and one would become a normal martial genius. The path to become a life and death realm warrior has to be walked by himself. Let's let him go. The headmaster of the Sky Cloud Martial School sighed. His chi and blood, which had been worn away by time, started to boil again. What could be more exciting than watching someone become a life and death realm warrior? Nothing. While the atmosphere in the Sky Cloud Martial School was heated, the people in the Rudra Martial School suddenly became silent. Long Bai let out a long breath. I have to admit that I was wrong. This is not a flood dragon, but a real dragon that has been hiding in the deep abyss. Once the thunder roars, the hidden dragon will come out of the abyss. His power is comparable to the top martial geniuses of the True Spirit continent. According to the old leader, the purpose of the hidden dragon rank is to find the real dragon hiding in the abyss. If the real dragon does not show up, the luck of the South Rudra region will be low. It seems like there has not been a life and death realm warrior in the South Rudra region for 500 years. Hearing her, the headmaster of the Rudra Martial School said. Long Bai sighed, it is not that easy for a life and death realm warrior to be born. Every time one of them appears, it would consume a huge amount of luck. Luck is very mysterious and no one knows how to make up for it. After such a long time, the luck of the South Rudra region has basically been worn out. Only the hidden dragon ancient place is left, and no one can shake it. It was the first time for them to see the hidden dragon secret realm appear. As for what kind of benefits the young generation would get, no one could tell for sure. But they believed that their disciples would not lose to the others, and they would definitely get the biggest benefits, which would help them build a solid foundation for the future. On the audience seating, no one left. They were prepared to sit there for 7 days and see what would happen. Once they reached the clasping yuan realm, it was normal for them to close up for 1 or 2 months. 7 days was a very short time. Above the surreal space, 2 space cracks were faintly visible. Dragon King, this is also the first time for us to see the hidden dragon secret realm appear, right? A light female voice came from the space crack on the left. The hidden dragon secret realm has appeared, which means that the luck of the South Rudra region is on the rise. We did not waste our effort to chase the 9 underworld demon king for half of the continent and wound him badly. He would not be able to recover within 100 years. The voice was very old, but the power contained in the voice had even made the surreal space shake a little. His tone changed as he said, "Speaking of which, you are quite powerful. You had only reached the life and death realm not long ago, but your power was already at the same level as the older life and death realm warriors. I, the Dragon King, am not even close." "Dragon King, you do not have to be so humble. You are one of the oldest life and death realm warriors. The fact that the 9 underworld demon king had been defeated is enough to show your power." The owner of the old voice forced a laugh. "Let's not talk about these meaningless things. Plus, we should not stay here for too long. The hidden dragon ancient place is something that even titled emperors would be afraid of. The good thing is that we have some connection with the South Rudra region. Otherwise we would not even come here. Yeah, when I was able to reach the life and death realm, I had more or less gotten some of the luck from the South Rudra region. Killing the 9 underworld demon king was only part of it. The hidden dragon rank competitions have already ended. There is no point in staying here any longer." Within a blink of an eye, the space crack disappeared. Even the leader of the rank 6 martial institutions could not sense their existence, as if they had never appeared in this world before. This was a vast world, boundless and limitless. The young generation all appeared on top of a low mountain. The mountain was connected to the ground by a flight of stairs, which was dozens of miles long. So this is the hidden dragon secret realm? It does not feel different at all. Some of the young generation were confused. If the hidden dragon secret realm could let you see something different, then it would not be called the hidden dragon secret realm. When he waved out his blade, the blade was no longer a blade anymore, but a wild wind, a blizzard, giving people the illusion that it was unstoppable. Right then, Lynch's attacking power had increased by a small level. If the hidden dragon rank competition was held again, he would definitely be able to make a big step forward and surpass the few people who were ranked in front of him. Right after that, the surrounding area started to flood again. There were swirls everywhere in the water, and the undercurrent was surging. All of the young warriors who had learned the water poetic perspective had learned from what had happened before, so they did not panic too much. They all picked up their weapons and fought against the tide, hoping that they could make it to the next level. However, things were not as simple as they seemed. All of the people who could not fight against the tide had been sent out of the hidden dragon secret realm one by one. Only then did everyone realize that the hidden dragon secret realm was not only a holy place for training, but also a place to test them. Those who were not talented in martial arts would be eliminated one by one, and only those who could fight against the tide would be able to get the benefits. With this lesson, a lot of people started to hesitate. They did not know if they should challenge the hidden dragon secret realm or not. What if they were sent out? The top-ranked young warriors sneered. If they did not become more powerful now, there would be no chance for them to challenge the hidden dragon secret realm in the future. But one thing was for sure, the hidden dragon secret realm would only get harder and harder. If they did not prepare well in the beginning, they would most likely fail. Chapter 289. There were all kinds of strange scenes in the hidden dragon secret realm. Some were catastrophic, some were picturesque, some were calm, some were moving, and some were never seen or heard before. For example, the dark mentality of Murong Qingqing's martial art, where the power field was everywhere, and the universe was reversed. Once one entered it, one would not be able to tell north from south at all. Only Murong Qingqing would be able to benefit from it. Yichen had not gained nothing either. In the scene where movement and stillness were combined, his fast sword poetic perspective and slow sword poetic perspective had both improved, especially the slow sword poetic perspective, which had finally reached a higher level. In terms of battling, it was not that much weaker than the fast sword poetic perspective. Unfortunately, the poetic perspective in the hidden dragon secret realm was still not enough for him to learn more. Whoosh! With a strike of the sword light could not be seen, but the surging river water was severed. Stepping on the river, Yi Qin thrust out his sword again. This time it was surprisingly slow. The thrust of the sword combined with the countercurrent of air, so slow that it made people want to vomit blood. With a swoosh, the majestic reef in the river was pierced through by the sword and slowly sank. Look, there's another staircase leading down here. At this time, a few of the younger generation who were walking in front said. Everyone followed the voice and looked over. In their sight, there was a long staircase leading to the next level. The entire hidden dragon secret realm was like a terraced field, with each level connected to the next. However, this terraced field had been magnified countless times. Without reaching the edge, it would be hard to notice. The next test should be even more difficult. Just the first level of the hidden realm had already eliminated more than 10 members of the younger generation. It was hard to imagine how many more would be eliminated in the second level. Who cares? We can't possibly waste our time on the first level. The young generation who could be ranked in the hidden dragon rank were all people with extremely strong minds. After being slightly surprised, none of them took it seriously. The scenery on both sides of the staircase was beautiful, and the airflow was gentle. Walking on it was like bathing in the spring breeze, and one's mood was exceptionally comfortable. As Yi Qin observed the surrounding scenery, he thought to himself, if I'm not mistaken, the hidden dragon mystery realm should be an illusory realm. It's an illusory realm that combines many artistic conceptions. Perhaps this illusion was recreated based on the real scene, making it hard for people to distinguish between reality and illusion. Thinking about that, Yi Qin was shocked. In the end, it was the poetic perspective of clouds that contained this poetic perspective of thunder, combining it with his own poetic perspective of thunder. Once the poetic perspective of thunder became stronger, the poetic perspective of thunder and clouds improved as well, becoming more complete. After absorbing the poetic perspective of thunder, Yi Qin raised his head, looking at the dark clouds. He thought to himself, I should learn a bit of the poetic perspective of clouds first. The essence of the poetic perspective of thunder and clouds is still the poetic perspective of clouds. The poetic perspective of clouds was vague and hard to learn. However, it was also the source of the power of the poetic perspective of thunder. If he did not solve the problem of the poetic perspective of clouds, it would be hard for the poetic perspective of thunder and clouds to improve. He waved out his sword attack and the sword light was like thunder shooting into the dark clouds. Pow, pow. The dark clouds rolled up, and the thunder light shone in the cracks, looking like countless thunder snakes swimming and playing. There was an indescribable murderous vibe in that nimble movement. While Yi Qin was learning the poetic perspective of clouds, the others were not idling around either. They all performed their best to fight against the poetic perspectives. The poetic perspectives that Xikong Sheng was fighting against were the poetic perspective of earth and wind. The poetic perspective of earth was contained in the mysterious sky tyrant fist art, while the sky-expelling palm art was the poetic perspective of wind. Yan Qihua was fighting against the poetic perspective of earth and fire. Li Daoxian was fighting against the poetic perspective of wind and the sharp and aggressive metal. Murong Qingqing was fighting against the poetic perspective of darkness and chaos. As for Su Jing's poetic perspective, it was a bit weird. It was a series of different forms of power, vibrating, penetrating, lifting something heavy as if it were light, and lifting something light as if it were heavy. If one were to describe it in one word, it would be the poetic perspective of power. It was an extremely pure poetic perspective, and also a necessary one. Most of the poetic perspectives would contain the poetic perspective of power, but there was no need to learn it specifically because there was no way to learn it. Only Su Jing could separate the poetic perspective of power and form it into her own poetic perspective. The dark clouds above his head disappeared, and the thunder light faded away. Yi Qin let out a breath. His poetic perspective of clouds had finally reached the next level. Right now, he already had the poetic perspective of combining the 6 movements of the sky cloud sword art. The only thing he was missing was to combine the 6 movements into one, which would be the sky-shattering clouds. Looking around, Yi Qin realized that there were less than 40 people left. Adding the people who had been eliminated in the first level, there were more than 30 people left. Pow. The thunder-like sword light cracked the ground open. Yi Qin put his sword back into its scabbard, its sharp light completely gone. A few people nearby were secretly shocked. They had just been battling with Yi Qin, but the difference was that Yi Qin had been battling with the poetic perspective of clouds and thunder, while they had been battling with the poetic perspective of wind. During the battling process, they had finally witnessed the power of Yi Qin's sword arts from a close distance. The dark clouds in the sky had been shattered by him, and it was already quite difficult for them to fight against the wind together. Whoosh! On the other side, Yan Qihua had lifted up his blade and waved out a straight red flame light. Wherever the flame light reached, the ground cracked open. No one knew if it was intentional, but the red flame light was attacking towards Yi Qin's direction. The blade aura was aggressive, as if it was about to devour someone. A poetic perspective of an erupting volcano was contained within it. The combination of the poetic perspective of earth and the poetic perspective of fire is not bad. Unfortunately, I'm not standing still either. Yi Qin did not back out. He put his right hand on the hilt of his sword, slightly pulling out his star scar sword. He released the poetic perspective of thunder and clouds, attacking towards the flame along with the sharp sword qi. Swoosh! The flame light was extinguished, disappearing completely. The remaining power of the thunder sword qi had not disappeared yet. It had forced Yan Qihua to back out dozens of steps, which had taught him a decent lesson. Yan Qihua's expression froze. He thought that his poetic perspective of earth and fire had improved a lot, and he had been able to get through all the difficult parts without any obstacles. He was planning to compete with Yi Qin for the poetic perspective, but he did not expect that Yi Qin had made even more progress than him. Before his sword had even been completely pulled out of its scabbard, Yi Qin had already forced him to back out. The good thing was that it was just a pure poetic perspective competition. If he used all of his power, Yi Qin's 70% sword intent would probably kill him within a second. Li Daoxian shook his head. Within a short period of time, he did not want to compete with Yi Qin anymore. Although Yan Qihua was very powerful, he still had a long way to go before he could catch up with Yi Qin. After the small interlude, the rest of the people walked towards the third level of the secret realm. The third level of the secret realm did not have any sudden incidents. It seemed to be very quiet. However, the quieter it was, the more nervous the people were. The unknown was always scary. Chapter 291. Sword artists treated the sword as their life weapon. If the martial art and the sword art could complement each other, and the rank was extremely high, then the warrior's battling power would increase drastically. Before, Yi Qin had trained the mysterious great art, which was a martial art with no element. It did not matter what kind of martial skill he used. However, every skill had its own specialization and balance was weak. In comparison, the mysterious great art was not as good. But now, this green lotus sword spell was obviously a martial art for sword artists to train, so it would undoubtedly bring out the full power of a sword artist. Turning to the second page, it was written, "The green lotus sword spell is divided into 15 levels. The first 6 levels are the basics, and the 7th level will allow you to train 3 green lotus sword chi inside your body. The sword chi will break through your body and it will be invincible. The 10th level will allow you to train 6 green lotus sword chi inside your body. The 13th level will allow you to train 9 green lotus sword chi, and the 14th level will allow you to train 1 lotus heart sword chi." Generating sword chi inside his body? Yi Qin was shocked. As everyone knew, whatever martial art one trained, the chi that was released would be named after the martial art itself. For example, the 5 mountain godly fist art would produce the 5 mountain fist power, the sky cloud sword art would produce the sky cloud sword chi, and the green lotus sword art would produce the green lotus sword chi. However, they all needed Jin Chi to be used, so it could not be created out of thin air. However, the Green Lotus Sword spell was obviously beyond this category, as it could generate Green Lotus Sword Chi and Lotus Heart Sword Chi inside his body. In other words, once he trained it to the 7th level, he would not need to use a sword anymore. He could only use his fingers or other parts of his body to perform the Green Lotus Sword Chi. As for the power, it should not be low, since the Green Lotus Sword spell was a top-rank Earth Realm martial art, which was only slightly weaker than the Sky Realm martial arts. Continuing to read, Yi Qin learned that the Green Lotus Sword Chi from the Green Lotus Sword spell was not that powerful at the beginning, but after training, its attacking power would be even more powerful than his own attacking power. Plus, with every level up, the Green Lotus Sword Chi would have a qualitative improvement. It is indeed a martial art for sword artists. It pays a lot of attention to attacking power. Yi Chen sighed. He had the urge to train it right away, but he knew that it was not the right time yet. In the early stages of changing martial arts, the warrior's power would be extremely weak. He would have to wait until he was fully prepared. Halfway through the manual, the accompanying sword art for the Green Lotus Sword spell appeared on the page, the Green Lotus Sword art. The Green Lotus Sword art has 9 movements in total. The first to third movements are the basic sword movements, the fourth to sixth movements are the ultimate sword movements, and the seventh to ninth movements are the ultimate sword movements. Those who train the Green Lotus Sword art will have a much more powerful sword chi attack. If you cannot train it, then give it up as soon as possible in case it taints your sword art. Reading the last sentence, Yi Chen smiled. The owner of the manual should be a very proud sword artist, and would not allow anyone to taint the Green Lotus Sword art. But of course it was a fact that top-rank Earth Realm martial arts were extremely hard to train. Bing Ling was ranked 9 in this year's Hidden Dragon rank, but she had only trained one movement of the Ice Break Fist art, and it was not even a complete one. Most of the people before her were like that. They had only perfected the killing movement a little bit. Although I have never trained a top-rank Earth Realm sword art, but I have combined the lone peak of 13 swords into one movement, and the 5 movements of the Sky Cloud sword art into one movement. These are all my knowledge and potential. It should not be too difficult for me to train a top-rank Earth Realm sword art. It was true that Yi Chen's comprehensive ability was very high, but if he did not have the experience from before, he would not be able to train top-rank Earth Realm sword arts much faster than Xikong Sheng and the rest. Everything had to go through a process from nothing to something, which was also the most difficult process. However, Yi Chen did not have to go through the process of nothing, and just started from the beginning to the end, which naturally lowered the difficulty. His Lone Peak Kill and Sky Shattering Clouds were both top-rank Earth Realm, and judging solely on the attacking power, they would not be any weaker than the first movement of top-rank Earth Realm sword arts. The Kill Hard attack was even more powerful than the second movement, which was a very high starting point. The poetic perspective here has not disappeared yet. Let me train the Green Lotus Sword art first. Learning the Green Lotus Sword art here would save him a lot of time. As for the Green Lotus Sword spell, he would have to put it aside for now. The basic sword movements in the beginning of the Green Lotus Sword art were called the Green Lotus 3 movements. These 3 movements were the foundation of the Green Lotus Sword art. Only with a solid foundation would one be able to learn the ace and killing movements. Without a solid foundation, the ace and killing movements would also have fatal flaws. Green Lotus 1 appearance. After studying it quietly for an hour, Yi Chen closed the manual and put his right hand on the sword hilt, pulling out his Star Scar sword all of a sudden. A green lotus appeared in the air, turning into sword chi and shooting out. It cut a deep mark on the wall of the valley, extending all the way to the top of the valley. Such a sharp sword chi. Yi Chen was very surprised. Normally, the Green Lotus Sword art contained the mentality of wood and the mentality of water, so it should be relatively gentle. However, although the Green Lotus Sword chi was gentle, its sharpness did not decrease because of that. Instead, it had been increased to an extreme, giving it a feeling of being soft on the outside but hard on the inside. Green Lotus Chi transformation. The second sword move was unleashed. The illusory Green Lotus flashed, transforming into a dozen or so streaks of sword chi of different shapes and sizes. They shot out with a whooshing sound, turning the walls of the valley into a hornet's nest. The last streak of sword chi even drew a stunning arc in the air, cutting through the rock walls that couldn't bear the heavy burden. Sword chi like lotus. The third move of the basic sword technique was executed, and the lotus-like sword chi swept across the lake, leaving behind a thin cut. In the end, it split the iron-containing boulder beside the lake into 2, and the 2 pieces shot out to the sides. Just the basic sword movement alone is already much more powerful than the Sky Cloud sword art. Its power is almost the same as the Sky Shattering Clouds combined with the 3 movements of the Sky Cloud sword art. But the Sky Shattering Cloud still looks more spectacular, while the Green Lotus 3 movement seems more reserved. It should have something to do with the mentality. Although he had not completely mastered the Green Lotus sword art yet, Yi Chen already had a basic understanding of the power of the Green Lotus 3 movement. Once trained to the extreme, its power would be extraordinary. There was still a lot of time left, so Yi Chen continued to learn the Green Lotus 3 movement. When Yi Chen was learning the Green Lotus sword art, there were less than 20 people left in the Hidden Dragon secret realm. The rest of them had all been eliminated in the process of fighting against the mentality. Most of the people who stayed had gotten a martial art, but they were all relatively simple, unlike Yi Qin who had gotten a martial art that contained both a martial art and a sword art. The seventh day, Yi Qin, who had been quietly standing next to the lake, slowly opened his eyes. An illusory sword chi shot out from his pupils, cutting through the air. The star scar sword was taken out of its scabbard. The sharp sword chi was dozens of meters long, cutting the small lake in half. The lake water could not merge back together for a long time. One sword to cut the water. Green Lotus 3 movement completed. Oh. Letting out a heavy breath, Yi Qin thought to himself, the Green Lotus 3 movement has been completed, and the mentality has been completed as well. Now I can start to learn the ultimate sword movements. But I should leave the Hidden Dragon Secret Realm first. Looking at the sky of the Hidden Dragon Secret Realm, Yi Qin put away his star scar sword and walked out of the valley. On the beautiful third level of the Hidden Dragon Secret Realm, Yi Qin started walking. Boom. A huge mountain nearby was suddenly blown through, and a human figure flew out. It was Sikong Sheng. Sikong Sheng had noticed Yi Qin, who was not far away. His expression did not change as he said, "In half a year, you and I will fight again." Yi Qin said lightly, "I will wait for you." In the distance there was a volcano eruption. Yan Qihua appeared one after another, followed by Li Daoxian, Murong Qingqing, Tua Baku, Lin Yun, Mo Yen, Bingling and Gu Yun. Soon Su Jing, who was wearing white, walked over as well. "You have broken through." Yi Qin could see that the gold chi power inside Su Jing's body had increased a lot, reaching 90,000 pounds. It was already equivalent to the core disciple level of the Vast Expanse Martial School. Yi Qin did not know how powerful the Vast Expanse Martial School was. But, since Su Jing could be ranked in the top of the Hidden Dragon rank, and was only at the core disciple level, it was not hard to tell. Su Jing nodded. She was different from the others. The others had basically made some progress in the poetic perspective, but their basic power was still the same. However, she had learned the power poetic perspective, and her body training art that had been stagnant for a long time had increased by 1 level, and her battling power had doubled. The body training art had always been an extreme martial art, even more extreme than the sword artist's martial arts. The battling power that could be derived from it would be extremely shocking. Of course, it did not mean that the sword artists were not as powerful as the people who had trained the body training art. The most important thing for a sword artist was still the sword intent. Without the sword intent, a sword artist would only be a normal warrior and would not be that outstanding. Only with the sword intent would one be considered a powerful sword artist. In this true spirit continent, the sword artist had always been synonymous with attacking power. There is still half a day left. Should we go check out the 4th floor? Someone suggested. Yi Qin shook his head. I have been there before. The end of the stairs to the 4th floor is just a void. I do not know where it leads to. Then never mind. Everyone had gained a lot, so they did not plan to risk their lives. Time passed quickly, and the rest of the people disappeared from where they were standing. They had been teleported out of the Hidden Dragon Secret Realm. In the deep abyss around the battling platform, a powerful dragon roar was heard. A huge dragon chi took 2 circles in the air, its head resting on the battling platform. It opened its mouth and a swirl slowly formed. Oh. The first one to walk out was Yi Qin, and the rest of the people followed closely behind him. They are out. I wonder what each of us had gained? Even if we had gained something, we would not tell you. Anyway, we must have gained something. Over at the audience seating, everyone's eyes brightened as they started to discuss. The head judge let out a breath and said with a loud voice, "Everyone, we will now announce the ranking of the Hidden Dragon rank. Please be quiet." During these 7 days, the judges had not been idle. They had decided the ranking based on the number of points they had accumulated. Occasionally, some of the people who had the same number of points had already been challenged again. The good thing was that those who had the same number of points did not include the people who had stayed in the Hidden Dragon Secret Realm. Otherwise they would have to fight a few more times. In the ranking of the Hidden Dragon rank, Lynch was ranked 54th, and Su Jing was ranked 19th. Adding Yi Qin, it was the first time in hundreds of years that 3 people had made it into the Hidden Dragon rank at the same time. The top 10 were Yi Qin, Sikong Sheng, Yan Qihua, Li Daoxian, Murong Qingqing, Tua Baku, Lin Yun, Mo Yen, Bingling and Gu Yun. The second disciple of the Sunset Martial School, Qian Yun, was ranked 11th, and the 12th was Gu Qin, who was ranked 10th in the last Hidden Dragon rank. After that, this year's Hidden Dragon rank competition had officially come to an end. Chapter 292. Congratulations, Leader Luo. Your Sky Cloud Martial School has gained a lot of fame this time. You have 2 disciples in the Hidden Dragon rank. You are so lucky. Once the competition was over, all of the top martial institutions in the Windy Nation came over to congratulate him. Some of them were kind, some were jealous, and some were evil. Luo Xinglia held his fists together and laughed. That is because they have worked hard and the Sky Cloud Martial School has benefited from it. Don't worry, my Sky Cloud Martial School is not like some other martial institutions. We will never be a dictator. Yi Qin and Su Jing had not really grown up yet, and Luo Xinglia did not want to be a thorn in everyone's side. That would be very bad for the Sky Cloud Martial School's development. After all, the Sky Cloud Martial School was still not as powerful as the Emerald Martial Palace and the North Snow Martial Academy. Hearing him, all of the leaders' faces changed a little. Although in this true spirit continent, the strong ones were the most powerful ones, and promises were not always reliable, since Luo Xinglia had said it in front of everyone, it must have some effect. They let out a breath of relief, but at the same time they were a little jealous. Why did they not have such a powerful disciple in their martial institutions? The leader of the Rudra Martial School, Long Bai, walked over and said with a sweet smile, "Leader Luo, Long Bai is here to congratulate you." Luo Xinglia saw her and said gratefully, "Leader Long, thank you for what happened in the scorching ancient desert. You saved us from a disaster." Long Bai's identity was special, and it was known to all of the martial institutions in the Windy Nation. Aside from the fact that she had helped the Sky Cloud Martial School once, Luo Xinglia also wanted to build a good relationship with the Rudra Martial School. At least he could not let them be enemies. After living in the Windy Nation for so many years, I have developed some feelings. How could I let the martial institutions in the country be bullied by others? Let's not talk about this. Where is Yi Qin? I have to take a good look this time. Long Bai had not met Yi Qin officially yet, so she was very curious. All right, I will tell him to come. Soon Yi Qin, who was wearing blue robes, walked over. He held his fists together and said, "Leader Long, good day." Long Bai sized him up, nodded and praised, "Yes, he has the aptitude of a top-notch swordsman. He has a lofty character but no arrogance. He is indeed a piece of unpolished jade." Yi Qin was rather embarrassed. This was the first time that he had been complimented right in front of his face, and it was by a woman. Yi Qin was shocked. He could not see through her at all. Even with his powerful soul power, he could not see through her at all. What was even more horrifying was that she seemed to be able to see through his soul with only one glance. Soon, Su Jing and Zhu Mei also looked at him. Yi Qin sneered, "We are being watched." He did not lower his voice when he said this, so Luo Xinglia and the other core masters all realized what was going on. They all looked very serious. "Ah, you are indeed the #1 warrior in the Hidden Dragon rank. You have found us so quickly." The first sky was torn apart. Thunder light shone brightly as a human figure flew down and blocked in front of the Wind Eagle. It was a middle-aged man with a black cloth covering his face. His whole body was covered with a bright fiery light. He was obviously an astral reaching realm warrior. Judging from his Zhenyuan vibration, he should be at the peak level of early astral reaching realm, which was the same as Thunder Freer. Luo Xinglia said with a dark face, "Who are you? Why are you blocking our way?" The middle-aged man laughed out loud, "I have been paid to take care of their problems." Very simple. Take care of their problems? All the people from the Sky Cloud Martial School had a bad look on their faces. They had never thought that they would be tricked on their way back. Those people were probably not targeting them but Yi Qin, who was ranked in the Hidden Dragon rank. After all, only Yi Qin was worth the attention of an astral reaching realm warrior. Indeed, you can leave but he will stay. The middle-aged man pointed at Yi Qin, as if he had the whole situation under control. Yi Qin flew onto the Wind Eagle. "Are you that confident that you can keep me here?" The middle-aged man said with disdain, "Although you and Sikong Sheng are powerful enough to fight against normal early astral reaching realm warriors, astral reaching realm warriors are way more powerful than you too. If I burn my Zhenyuan, killing you would be as easy as flipping my palm. Plus, I am already at the peak level of early astral reaching realm, I can kill you without burning my Zhenyuan. Now, are you going to let me kill you or do you want me to spend some effort to kill you?" He did not take Yi Qin seriously at all. The so-called number one of the hidden dragon rank was only a weak sheep that could be killed at any time before he grew up. Well said. But your wish is going to come true. The surprising sky was torn apart again, and a human figure wrapped in thunder light flew down. His body flashed once, appearing right in front of Yi Qin. Luo Xinglia let out a breath. He said with respect, "Thunder Freer." It was indeed Thunder Freer. He was asked by Cloud Dreamer to come and protect the people from the Sky Cloud Martial School. Only Luo Xinglia and the headmaster knew about this. "You guys step back." Thunder Freer glanced at Yi Chen with admiration, then said to Luo Xinglia and the others. The middle-aged man did not change his expression. "No wonder you look so confident. It turns out that you have a peak-level early astral-reaching realm warrior protecting you?" Senior brother Yi is so strong. Those core disciples from the Sky Cloud Martial School, who had come to watch the competition, shouted out in shock. Of course, they were not the only ones who were shocked. Lu Hanshan, Zhu Mei, and those elders of the Sky Cloud Martial School were also shocked. It was as if they had just met Yi Chen for the first time. Although the power that Yi Chen had shown in the last battle of the Hidden Dragon rank was equivalent to an early astral-reaching realm warrior in his normal condition, he could only fight against him. It was impossible for him to beat him, not to mention making him puke blood with only one attack. It was obviously two different levels of battling power. In other words, in that last battle, Yi Chen still had some hidden power. Thinking up to this point, everyone from the Sky Cloud Martial School secretly felt lucky. Luckily, Yi Chen was a disciple of the Sky Cloud Martial School, and he was not their enemy. Otherwise, facing an enemy with endless hidden power and immeasurable battling power would be the most terrifying thing. Who knew whether or not he would attack at the critical moment? Yi Chen's movements were very simple. They were just like thunder and lightning, fast and violent, powerful and heavy. Every sword attack was accompanied by blood-colored lightning and endless clouds. He was like a god of war in the clouds, like a thunder god with thunder and lightning on his body. He had suppressed the masked man until he did not even have the slightest bit of temper left. Wah! Another mouthful of blood spurted out. The masked man was seriously injured, and his face was pale without a trace of blood. He roared in a hoarse voice, "Damn brat, I will tear you into 1,000 pieces, turn you into ashes and burn you for me." The dark green Jin Yuan outside the masked man's body rubbed against each other, bringing up sparks. The sparks were like sparks on a grassland, covering his whole body within a second and devouring him. The next second, a dark green flame appeared on his body, and his aura increased drastically. What? He has started to burn his Zhen Yuan already? The masked man and Thunder Freer were fighting at the same level, so he did not have the time to pay attention to the other side of the battle. He waited until the huge aura of burning Zhen Yuan spread out before he glanced over. What he saw made him open his mouth wide. In his sight, the masked man had been beaten by Yi Chen to the point where he kept puking out blood. He looked extremely embarrassed. If he did not burn his Zhen Yuan soon, he would be killed. I was too careless. This brat is 10 times more tricky than I thought. Brat Yi, well done. Kill Thunder Qianjun. Thunder Freer had also noticed what was happening on Yi Chen's side. He was shocked. But of course, as long as he could perform 80% of its power, it would be enough. He threw out a sword attack, the sword chi looking like a pillar. Swoosh. The masked man's burning protective Zhen Yuan had been punctured through, and an arm-sized bloody hole appeared on his chest. After a scream, he fell down from the sky, completely dead. The masked man was shocked, Thunder Freer was shocked, Luo Xinglia was shocked, and everyone from the Sky Cloud Martial School was shocked. It seemed like even the Wind Vulture was shocked, its eyeballs stopped moving. Fighting against an early astral-reaching realm warrior and killing an early astral-reaching realm warrior were two completely different concepts. They could not be compared at all. They thought that no one in the South Rudra region would be able to do it for a long time, but Yi Chen had done it. He had done something that no one in the South Rudra region had managed to do in the past hundreds of years. He had killed an early astral-reaching realm warrior who was burning his Zhen Yuan with only a late-clasping Yuan realm warrior. Once this got out, it would create a tsunami-like storm in the whole South Rudra region. His name would also be recorded in the history of the whole region. Chapter 294. Performing the minor blood demon body separating great art did not feel good at all. All of his chi and blood seemed to be burning, bringing waves of needle-like pain. This kind of pain was getting worse as time went on. Even with Yi Chen's powerful endurance, cold sweat still dripped down from his forehead. Kill? Yi Chen turned his body and a blood-colored arc flashed through the air. All of a sudden Yi Chen appeared above the middle-aged man, throwing out a sword attack. You are looking for death. The middle-aged man recovered from his shock. A sharp killing intent shot out from his eyes as he threw out a fist attack with a burning flame halo towards Yi Chen. Boom. A huge part of the cloud layer had been evaporated. Looking down from the cloud layer, there seemed to be a huge hole in the sky. The edge of the hole was filled with fire and thunder. The terrifying impact sent Yi Chen flying backward. He glided in the air for hundreds of meters before he managed to stop himself. His feet stepped on the misty cloud and a pale look flashed across his face. A peak-level early astral reaching realm warrior was extremely powerful. Even with the combination of Yi Chen's minor blood demon body separating great art and his sky-shattering clouds with his 70% sword intent, he would still be at a disadvantage. Plus, the middle-aged man was different from the other masked man who had already died. He had basically not been wounded before. Once he started to burn his Zhen Yuan, his battling power would be doubled. Alright, you and I will take care of him together. Thunder Freer did not plan to keep the middle-aged man alive, because he knew that he would not be able to do it with his own power. Wounding him was already his limit. But now that Yi Chen had taken out the other masked man, if the two of them worked together, they would have a great chance of winning. In your dreams? Taste my three-colored fire fist. The middle-aged man roared as all of his clothes started to dance in the air without any wind. Under the burning Zhen Yuan mode, the edges of his clothes were covered in flames. It looked like he was wearing pieces of dancing flames, looking extremely powerful. On his right fist, a golden flame appeared, burning the air. Three-colored fire fist? Yi Chen was a bit surprised. Before, he had felt that he did not have enough battling techniques, so he went to the trading palace of the martial city to look for a replacement fist art. Among the two fist art manuals that he had his eyes on, one of them was indeed the three-colored fire fist, while the other one was the five-mountain godly fist. The three-colored fire fist was sold for 170,000 low-rank soul stones in the trading palace. There were 3 movements in total. The fist power of the first movement would be red, the second would be purple, and the third would be gold. Two light arcs extended out from the back of the battle armor. At the place where the light arcs intersected, a bowl-sized thunder bead started to condense. The electric arcs that were spreading out from it started to make cracking noises. The martial art that came with the Heavenly Thunder Great Art, the Heavenly Thunder Battle Armor. Thunder Freer had a great adventure in his early years. He had found a set of martial art, the Heavenly Thunder Great Art, which contained a martial art, a defensive martial skill, and a battling martial skill. Judging only the effect of increasing battling power, it was almost as powerful as a normal high-rank Earth Realm martial art. Excluding the early astral-reaching realm warriors from the super martial institutions, with the power of the Heavenly Thunder Great Art, Thunder Freer would definitely be one of the most powerful early astral-reaching realm warriors. I will kill you first. Thunder Freer's toughness was out of the masked man's expectation. His body flashed and he rushed towards Yi Chen with a straight fire wave. After the Heavenly Thunder battle armor had been condensed, Thunder Freer's speed had been pushed to its limit. An electric arc exploded, and his whole body appeared in front of the masked man within a second. He threw out a claw attack. So fast. But so what? Back out now. Raising up his fist that was wrapped in golden flame, the masked man clenched his teeth and threw out an attack towards Thunder Freer. Boom. A huge sound was heard as both of them were blown back. Right then Yi Chen moved. He looked like a bloody battle god. He took a step forward, ignoring the distance between him and the masked man as he threw out a sword attack. Kill Heart. The Kill Heart was a combination of the Lone Peak Kill and the one-sword attack. It could be used for both close-range and long-range attacks. Relatively speaking, close-range attacks were more powerful. Under the cover of the Kill poetic perspective, warriors with the same cultivation would not be able to block it out at all. Even astral-reaching realm warriors would not be able to ignore this poetic perspective. The burning protective Zhen Yuan had been punctured through, and an egg-sized bloody hole appeared on the masked man's shoulder. It was perfectly round and blood kept pouring out of it. The masked man screamed and hurried to back out, increasing the distance between them. What a shame. just a little bit more. Yi Chen's soul power had been searching for the flaws of the masked man all the time. Before, when the masked man was battling with Thunder Freer, his flawless protective Zhen Yuan had been slightly unstable, which gave Yi Chen the chance to throw out a sword attack. However, astral-reaching realm warriors had extremely powerful mental power, and the kill poetic perspective could not affect his mind completely. Therefore, Yi Chen managed to avoid the fatal attack. My cousin is still hesitating about which martial institution to join. Now that Brother Yi has won the #1 Hidden Dragon rank, he would definitely fight to join. Then tell him to do it as soon as possible. Soon the whole Windy Nation will know about it. By then, the number of young people joining the Sky Cloud Martial School will be beyond imagination. If he is late, he will not have the chance anymore. Thanks for the reminder. I will ask for leave now and tell my people about this. My uncle is going to join the Emerald Martial Palace and become the outer master of the Emerald Martial Palace. I will go stop him now. It would be great to join the Sky Cloud Martial School. You would be lucky. Within one day, countless people had asked for leave, which made the master in charge very busy. But of course it was with a smile on his face. In front of the martial skill pavilion, the master who was guarding the pavilion touched his beard after hearing the news. He forced a smile and said, "What kind of monster is he?" He could still vaguely remember that Yi Chen was only 14 or 15 years old. He had a handsome face and looked very young. The first time he had met him was when he was training the Lone Peak 13 swords. He did not think that Yi Chen would be able to successfully train the Lone Peak 13 swords, but he did. As time went by, the handsome teenager was no longer there. He had grown into a young man and his status had also increased. He had become the #1 martial genius of the South Rudra region, and had dominated the young generation of the South Rudra region. 3 to 4 years had passed so fast. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.